What's up? This is EJ Stewart.
What if I drop 40 days, 40 nights?
One, you can't do it.
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you.
Every morning, every night, for 40 days.
Going to be a long 40 days this year.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days, 40 nights.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
For 40 days. If I can do that, then everything will be okay.
You're the guy who can't finish a sandwich. You think you can go 40 days? This isn't normal!
No, you're wrong, brother. I'm gonna go the distance.
Let's go! Let's go is right. What's up? This is EJ Stewart. You are watching 40 Days, 40 Nights with your boy, EJ Stewart, as we recap the NBA All-Star Weekend. All-Star LA 26 is complete. It was a little bit of a mixed bag of a weekend that started off kind of rough, but I'll be honest, if you looked at the action last night, I think you had to be very excited about perhaps where the league is going when it comes to NBA All-Star Weekend, and just where the league is going when it comes to its young stars. You had a very, very exciting NBA All-Star game last weekend, this weekend rather. Did not necessarily end the best just because of the last game not being so great, but I gotta be honest, for those that were kind of down on the whole setup, as I fix my hair, I'm a little crazy right now. For those maybe a little down on the NBA All-Star game coming into this, I certainly was one of those folks. I think Adam Silver may got this one right. So what's the saying about a dead clock, right? Dead clock is right twice a day. Adam Silver, you gotta give him a round of applause. You had guys that were competitive, guys that were playing hard, and we'll talk about why I think the format worked, and why I think, again, if you're looking at the future of this league, if you're down on this league, I think you should feel really good about where it's going because of who's going to be spearheading this thing moving forward. So I'm really excited about talking about this NBA All-Star game. David Shepard, that's right, the good Shepard, Sirius XM Radio, NBA Radio, will be joining me live at 8:40 a.m. to talk about not just NBA All-Star Weekend, but also what's going to be going on for the second half of the NBA season. So I'm really excited about that. You got David Shepard joining me here at 8:40 Eastern. We'll also talk some Mets baseball as well. Francisco Lindor, who, of course, suffered that ham injury, that hamate bone surgery that he's recovering from. He spoke to the media yesterday, so we'll get into all of that. We got some stuff regarding some Travis Hunter news we got to get to as well. So a lot to get to on today's show, man. I'm really excited. There's some social media stuff we got to discuss regarding one Kevin Durant, and he may have been caught again with the burner account. I don't know what it is with the guy with the burner accounts. Again, it's not confirmed yet. We got to wait to see if he's actually going to confirm whether or not these posts that were from an account that fans are speculating is Kevin Durant's. If it indeed is his, if he's going to take credit for it. And the comments coming out of this and some of the stuff he was saying in these, I guess, group chats, it looks like with randos on the internet, it don't look good. It don't look good. Doesn't mean it's confirmed that it's him yet, so we got to be responsible in that regard. But if it is him, I mean, he looks like a loser. I mean, I'm just going to say how it is. And I know that he already had issues with burner accounts in the past, so this is not a new thing for him. But this is it. But the stuff he was saying, going after teammates, going after friends, again, apparently doing it to randos on the internet. Just completely bizarre stuff. But again, we have to see and wait to see if that is indeed confirmed true, if it is true. If not, then bravo to some random guy who was able to make all these fans believe that he was indeed Kevin Durant, including birth dates, including, talking about certain things or certain times that seemed like it would match up to whatever KD was doing at one point in time. So we'll get into that, man. We got a lot of stuff to get to again. 40 days, 40 nights, your boy EJ Stewart. And like I said, David Shepard from Sirius XM Radio will be joining me, formerly of Infinity Sports Network, and my good buddy and good friend, who will have plenty to say on NBA All-Star Weekend and the NBA All-Star Game. So I'm excited about this one, man. Let's get it rocking. Excited to have you here for day 26. We're coming down to the wire here, man. What is this now? Week 6. Week 6 of 40 days, 40 nights. There's 3 weeks to go in this journey where I'm doing these 2 shows per day. One at 8 a.m., one at 6 p.m. Of course, you can catch all these shows where we're streaming live multiple spots, including live currently on YouTube. Shout out to the YouTube chat. Always New Generation Media is our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. Even if you're not watching on YouTube, head over to the channel. Make sure you subscribe. Also streaming live on X, EJ_Stewart. again, the mechanism of X, where for some reason, it's funny doing this whole thing because things will come up, problems will come up that you don't understand. And I started this journey. I would hit live, and then it would automatically post that I was live on X, and now it just stopped doing that. So then, of course, I'd say, all right, well, what am I going to do now? Well, now I have to take the time to go live, and then even though I'm live, I have to put in the hey guys, I'm live on X, watch me. Post on X while I hit the live button. So it always takes me a little minute or so to get going. Once I actually go live here, but I think that's fine. I actually think it's probably good. A little build up for you guys waiting to hear that intro music. So get you guys revved up for that. And of course, we're streaming live on Instagram, IG Live, Action EJs, where you'll find me on Instagram Live. Again, we got John Lean in the YouTube chat. Yo, what's up? Yo, what's up, John? Good to see you. We got Daily Row in the chat. Yo, what's up, Daily Row? Unfortunately, we got my good friend Rob DeRay, who's still making fun of math. I got it right. Well, I don't know why he's tripping. I don't know why he's tripping. I said week 6, so I don't know why he's even getting on my ass this early in the morning. And we got my guy Bob Custon, Nevada. Good morning, EJ, etc. All from Reno and High Sierra, miles from 420 miles from Las Vegas, Nevada. Shep will be joining the program. Yes, he will. David Shepard. I had multiple people ask for him. He might be the most. I don't know if Shep has a burner account like Kevin Durant. And why? But he was a guy that was one of the most requested people last week when I started talking about, there were more guests coming. And I got a guest coming tonight, too. Actually, I can make multiple announcements. We got Shep coming at 8:40. Also later tonight for night 26 of 40 Days and 40 Nights. Really excited about this guest we have coming. We'll have Dexter Henry from New York Post Sports joining me live also to talk about the second half of the NBA season. We'll certainly get some Knicks. We'll probably get some New York sports overall as well. Well, he'll be on live with me later tonight. So this is going to be a show where there will be not just one guest, but 2 guests for today. So a lot of excitement, a lot of exciting stuff. I'm really excited to get this thing going with 40 Days and 40 Nights. So let's begin talking about the NBA All-Star Game. So this was a interesting situation regarding the NBA All-Star Game itself. You did have essentially a tournament that was being played. Was it kind of complicated to figure out exactly what was going on for probably people who did not know this was happening? I can confirm that is a yes. I had a good friend, shout out to my friend James Holly, who was very confused. He's texting the group chat, wait, what's going on? Like, there's another game? I'm confused. So a lot of people didn't quite understand what was happening. I don't know if the NBA got the message out that great about exactly how this was going to work when you're doing a USA versus a world game. When you pitch it as a USA versus world, I think people think, okay, it's going to be one team of USA, one team of world. When there was 3 teams out there, and teams leaving the court, coming back to the court, I think you confused folks. But I think what did not confuse folks, and I think what resonated with everybody, was the level of competition, which was, for an All-Star game, pretty outstanding, especially considering the last 7 or 8 years, I would say for sure. So the setup essentially was you had 3 teams. Some teams had more than 8 players, but 3 teams of at least 8 players. And they would play basically a 12-minute game. And then they would combine their records after playing 3 games. And then the final 2 teams who had the best record or best point differential, depending on what the situation was going to be, those teams would then face you off in a championship game, again, a 12-minute game. And I think it was pretty easy to see that Victor Wembanyama was taking this thing very seriously. He came in and he punched somebody's shot and threw it in like the 12th row early in the first game. So somebody was trying to, I think it was Jalen Duren. They were trying to like Nikola Jokic was willing to kind of let them just get a layup, and Wemby came out of nowhere and was like, not in my house, and threw that crap all the way into the wall basically at the Intuit Dome. And I think that was like, oh wow, okay, there's a defensive play. Let's see how this is gonna pick up. And then action picked up from there, man. They started with the young guys and the world team playing against each other and playing pretty good competition. And that's pretty much all we've asked for. We're not asking for guys to play like this is Game 7, but the pseudo layup line and 3-point contest that these guys were doing the last few years was a terrible entertainment product. And I was actually surprised at how well this went. I felt like, and maybe this is just the nature of the NBA player today, but all the moaning and groaning like, oh, I don't like the format, and oh, I don't think All-Star games are actually that good in the past, and why are you guys getting on me? I heard all this stuff all weekend, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be awful. This might be the worst All-Star game ever. With the way these guys are complaining and talking already, this may end up being the worst All-Star game ever. So I was actually quite stunned that the games ended up being as competitive as they were, but It was. It was. There were three really competitive games, close games, for those 12 quarters. The last game that ended up being a U.S. Stripes versus U.S. Stars game did not go as well. It was a blowout, and the Team USA Stars won. Anthony Edwards named MVP. But I think at that point in time, we got what we wanted to see. We saw a Kawhi Leonard performance for the All-Star ages. We scored 31 points in a game, but really it's a quarter because it's all just 12-minute quarters where he couldn't miss a shot. Again, we saw Victor Wembanyama dominating in both games, even though they lost both games. We saw Anthony Edwards hitting clutch shots. This was awesome. De'Aaron Fox hit a buzzer beater to win one of the games. Like this was great action, man. And you got to give credit to Adam Silver because I think that someone put it best on social media. I think they were right. Silver and the NBA essentially said, okay, what do people like about the All-Star game? They like that the fourth quarter is typically pretty competitive and it's a close game. So I said, okay, how do we guarantee we can get a fourth quarter of action for the entirety of the game? And I think the smart thing to do was just basically make these guys play one quarter of basketball. Because just the nature of basketball, I think, is once you if you're playing a quarter and the quarter is the difference, you're not going to have a game really get out of hand where a team can get up 20, 30 points. I know it technically did happen in the last game, but the likelihood that a game really could get out of hand is far less than if you play a 48-minute game where the first half could be kind of close, but a bad third quarter gets out of hand, and now the rest of the game is unwatchable, right? And because the first quarter, second quarter, there's no enthusiasm, there's no sense of urgency, you're not going to have guys playing balls to the walls to start the game. But if you know that this is a 12-minute game, and if you want to stay on the court, you're going to have to, win these games in a short amount of time. You're a lot more likely to have closer games. So the mechanism of playing 12-minute games, I don't love, but I would prefer this than what we were getting the last few years with 4 quarters. I would take this 100 times out of 100 times. It's unfortunate that we don't have guys that can play 12-minute quarters for 4 quarters and play a normal game and just play basketball like they're professionals and paid to do. But you got to meet them where they are. So if this is what we can do to get these guys to play at a higher level, then so be it. So I think that they were smart with that because essentially they guaranteed having NBA All-Star type fourth quarters for the first 3 games. The intensity was good. The defense was good. But again, I want you guys to hear from Anthony Edwards, who was the MVP of this game. He wanted to make it clear that while he was the MVP, maybe Victor Wembanyama was the real MVP.
I ain't gonna lie, Wemby set the tone. He came out playing hard, and we had to follow that, and we had to pick it up as a red team, and we did that.
So that was Anthony Edwards right after the game on the court. Here he was in the post game, also reiterating how much Wembanyama was important to the game's competitiveness.
Yeah, he set the tone, and it was definitely competitive with all 3 teams. I feel like the old heads played hard too. They was playing real good defense. But yeah, he set the tone, man, and it woke me up for sure.
And it wasn't just Anthony Edwards who agreed with the sentiment. So was Knicks point guard Jalen Brunson co-signing that.
I mean, yeah. I think Wemby's a leader, and I think the way he carries himself.
Yeah, I hate that sound. I have a better version of that sound. Here it is.
I think Wemby's a leader, and I think the way he carries himself, it's fantastic. It's fantastic for this game, and I think he's doing a great job. And you see what his impact is on and off the court around this game. So he's just doing what he does.
Yeah, and that's why I say the game is in really good hands. If you're a fan of the NBA, you should be excited about the future. Because I think what I have been saying for at least a year or 2 at this point, and I've been saying this a ton, is this league, with all due respect to what LeBron James, Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant have brought to the NBA. And they brought a lot. I don't want to disrespect those guys at this point in time. But I will say that this league will be in much better shape when those guys are gone. Those guys represent a nothing matters era, a era of what's the big deal about this or that, and a laissez-faire attitude towards things that have value to the NBA, and it has hurt the league. They've done plenty of things to help the league, but there are that aspect, what's the big deal about an All-Star game? What's the big deal about slam dunk contest? What's the big deal about joining a 73-win team? Like they keep trying to gaslight fans into thinking that you'll just take this crap and we'll be fine with it, and it's not going to be that big a deal. And it sucks. Like, it sucks to have those guys be the OGs of this league at this point in time, simply because their greatness demands it. Because they are great. They are three of the best players of all time. But they've represented the AAU era and the era of everybody being buddy-buddy and everybody not taking anything seriously, and the regular season doesn't matter, and all those different things. And what I'm seeing from Victor Wembanyama, as to me, I looked at that and said, oh, wow, this guy was on the court with LeBron James and Kevin Durant and Anthony Edwards and all these other stars, and that was the guy that made everybody else play hard. This French kid who's 22 years old, 23 years old. That tells me this guy is going to be the face of the NBA. When we kept saying that Michael Jordan wouldn't allow some of this stuff, because people would say, how are you guys getting on LeBron for this? How are you getting on LeBron for that? Why are you blaming him for this? It's like, wow, no, man. I just feel like a bigger influence on the NBA, a bigger personality would step up and not allow some of the crap that happens on a regular basis happen. You just wouldn't have it. It just wouldn't be allowed. Like a league that was run by Michael or Magic or Bird, they're just too competitive. They're just too much of a cult of personality. They're just too influential, and it just wouldn't happen. And LeBron, maybe he has that influence, but he doesn't wield it in that way because of his personality. And his personality is what it is. We know he's the guy that always gonna make the right play. He's not gonna just be selfish, take the last shot. Like he's definitely a celebrity. He definitely has an ego, but he's very much kind of like a passive type of personality overall. And that's always been the part of his journey and part of his career that we've talked about a ton. That is not Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama wants to bring back all-star games. Victor Wembanyama wants to bring back personal rivalries. Like, Victor Wembanyama is cut from a different cloth. He's cut from a cloth from the guys that played in the 80s and 90s, not this 2010 crap. He's just different. And I think he showed it in this game. So he deserves a lot of credit for taking the game seriously. And again, all these guys saying, oh, I might get hurt or I might do this. Like, you're playing a basketball game. Some of you guys were just for 12-minute intervals. And, like, you played 70% effort and it was fine. And nobody got hurt and everybody had fun. And it's like, why couldn't this happen before? We weren't asking for you guys to play if this was Game 7. But those guys are, I'm too cool. It's all good. I'm just getting this money. I just want to rest up. I just want to get ready for the second half of the season. And again, like, what they don't understand is that these little moments that make up the NBA season and make up careers, they do matter to people's in terms of just like their joy for the game, their love for the game. And Victor Wembanyama stepping up the way he did. And I don't want to just put it all on Victor, because those young guys then also stepped it up. Like the guys on Team USA, Red/Stars, whatever the hell their name was, Anthony Edwards was awesome in all the games he played in. He was taking clutch shots. He was making good defensive plays. There were plenty of guys who stepped up. I thought Jaylen Brown, even though he didn't play good in the last game, I thought his intensity was great in the first two games. Like, the younger guys throughout the entire course of this All-Star game definitely said, okay, if that's how this game's going to be played, let's play. And we got awesome action. Like, again, you would think the way these guys were talking for years and years about how, like, hey, what's the big deal with you guys just giving some effort? It's like you were asking them to run a marathon. It's like you were asking them to do a Tough Mudder. I'm like, it's an All-Star game. Like, why is this so? Why is this torturous to you guys? And I'm not saying to play this like it's Game 7. As Reggie Miller said it, and he said it a bunch, and I agree. Like, you guys play harder in pickup ball at UCLA over the summer than when you were doing it in the All-Star game. Why can't you guys just give us a little something? And we did. We got awesome moments. And I mentioned the young guys, but how about Kawhi Leonard, who I think didn't want to be embarrassed in his home city, in his home arena, putting on, again, a performance for the ages. I mean, this was great. This is one of the best All-Star games we've seen in a long time. You know, I wish the last game would have been great because the first three were so good. But that, you know, that's basketball, right? That happens. Games get out of hand. And again, the old guys, I think they were like, all right, we've had enough of playing hard this long. And the young guys ran him out the gym. And they got embarrassed. And that's what should happen. If you're not going to go out there and play hard, like Victor Wembanyama made it very clear. The way he was dunking on guys, he's sealing guys underneath the basket. Like, he looked like he was shot on some of these plays. Like, but that's the intensity he was playing with, because he was going to say, if you're not going to stop me, I'm going to embarrass you. I'm going to punch your shot. I'm going to dunk in your face. And this is going to be an embarrassing 3 hours of basketball for you if you're going to sit there and act like aloof. And I really appreciated him for his efforts, man. I thought he did an absolutely phenomenal job, man. Here's Victor talking about, he was pissed, by the way. His team lost both games, which is kind of funny that he's being hailed as like the MVP of this game, the unofficial MVP, even though his team won no game. Like, he played well in these games, but his team didn't win any of these games. And he's walking off the court, man. He looked pissed. And I loved it. He looked like a guy at LA Fitness or your 24-hour fitness or your YMCA who lost a pickup game, had to get off the court, and he's mad. He don't want to get off the court. I thought it was awesome. Here was Victor Wembanyama talking about how really he owes it to the fans and to the game to play with that level of competitiveness.
Yeah, I think being honest with ourselves is good, and when it's a game we love, it's a game I personally cherish. So being competitive is the least I can do.
Yeah, he's right. And at the end of the day, that's the attitude that I think is going to flip this script around in terms of how people talk about this league. Because what do you say at the end of the day? At the end of that, it's the least I can do for this game that I love, and the least I do for this game for what this game has done for me, which has always been essentially when people have tried to get across to the stars of today, or maybe kind of more yesterday, as to why these little things matter. It's like, well, this game's giving you a lot. And a lot of the reason why you have the things that you have as a professional athlete in 2026 is because of the people from previous years that sacrificed and did a lot and didn't have all the luxuries that you have. The least you can do as an ode to the game and as a thank you to basketball and thank you to the fans is to do these small things like playing 75% or 70% in an All-Star game. And again, you think that you ask these guys to swim across the Atlantic Ocean. It was like, oh my God, but the second half, I might break my leg. I might tear my Achilles. Oh my God, what? I gotta play basketball? Really? You make me play I'm like, yeah, it's your sport, bro. It's this game you play. I'm not asking you to play football. I'm asking you to play the game you already play. It did not make sense to me, and what appeals me so much, and I know I was getting that to people on social media. I usually don't do that. I put those days behind me where I go after other media members because of a lot of different reasons. One, we know the game. We all know we're trying to, we know the game. So I think sometimes to get into someone else's mentions when they're trying to just cultivate their audience or cultivate whatever energy they're trying to cultivate, I try to avoid that now, especially as someone who's part of the media industry. But you see these David Dennis's and these Clinton Yates types gaslighting you like, oh, the All-Star game was always non-competitive. The All-Star game always had scores that were in the 200s. The All-Star game always had games where they just were layup lines and three-point shootouts. These games were never close or never competitive. And then Kevin Durant can go in a press conference before the game and say, oh, yeah, I watched those games in the 90s. I didn't see the level of competitiveness you guys are talking about. It's like that, again, you allow these folks to gaslight you into glazing these current stars for who? For what? What reason is there? There's none. You cannot tell me, and I've done it. That's why this thing is so preposterous to me, because I'm a lunatic. Because they were saying this for years. Oh, this you go back and watch those games in the 90s. They were always non-competitive, and there was always no defense being played. I'm like, I remember I was a kid, but I remember those games, and like, were they blowouts sometimes? Yes. Were there games that got out of hand? Yes. That's just basketball. But was it what I was seeing where like Jokic is walking up and down the court and Doncic is walking up and down the court and there's literally guys just getting out of the way of people? I was like, I don't remember that. I don't think I've ever seen that in an All-Star game. Maybe when the game is so out of hand and it's the last 5 minutes, maybe that happens, but not. And the games I remember, and I go back and watch these games. And even the blowouts, guys are still swiping the ball, still trying to play defense. Like they don't want to be embarrassed. But again, you let these folks who either weren't there, weren't actual basketball fans who didn't pay attention during back then, or again, want to just glaze these guys who are currently playing today and be like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, they're right. Yeah, why are you guys making such a big deal? The All-Star game never was a good thing. It never was competitive. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you actually talking about? It's I don't know, man. I don't get it. I don't know what it is. And I don't feel like I'm one of these guys that comes out here and just destroys the current player. I actually defend a lot of the NBA guys today because I think they take a lot of crap. I do. I think a lot of this stuff that people blame them for is not their fault. Load management, I'm sorry, it's not these players' fault. It's the teams. You want to get at people, get after the owners, get after the folks who pay the checks, get after the general managers, get after the coaches. They're the ones who want to do load management. Those are the teams. Those are the people that want to tank. So it's not on the players. They take a lot of crap. But for this stuff, there's like laissez-faire stuff when it comes to All-Star games, when it comes to other things that matter. It's silly. And I'm really happy that we have a guy like Victor who I think could be ushering in a different era where they will take some of these things more seriously. Those issues and concerns you have about guys loafing in the All-Star game, I don't know if he's going to be the guy to solve, like, load management. Like, I don't know. He seems the kind of guy, he gets hurt all the time. Like, I don't think he's the guy that's going to solve that. But maybe there's another young kid that's going to come up and going to be like, I'm playing all 82 games. You can't stop me. And then maybe that will be the thing. It's like what Pac said, right? Like, I want to be the guy that changes the world, but I want to inspire the mind of the person that changes the world. Like, maybe that's Victor. Maybe he's the guy that is going to be the guy that inspires the guy who then changes this league to get back to kind of the competitiveness that we were at in the 80s and 90s. This was fun, man. I don't know, again, if you were a basketball fan, I'm very curious I usually don't care so much about ratings and stuff, but I am curious, like, what the ratings were for this, because, one, it was at a weird time, started at 5 p.m., because the NBC had the Olympics, and the Olympics always gets the primetime slot regardless of whatever you have going, so they were like, All-Star game, get ready to learn at 5 o'clock, buddy. So you had an afternoon All-Star game in LA, and again, you had a weird format. So, and then you've had now a couple of years in a row where you've had horrendous All-Star games. I wondered if, and then all this negativity around it, the Saturday night we'll get to probably with David Shepard in a couple of minutes was terrible. All the negative commentary about just All-Star weekend being dead. The Intuit Dome itself had problems too. Not getting enough people in there, it seemed like, where the ticket prices were too high. They seem to have a lot of problems. So I'm curious what the TV rating is going to be for this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun in terms of, or rather, I think it will be pretty good because I think word of mouth probably got around saying, yo, you watch this All-Star game, this is pretty good. But I'm still curious because it's going to be there was so much negativity around this game. I wonder if people just gave up before it even began. CJ Stewart here with 40 days and 40 nights. Really excited because we have a special guest here. In fact, not only do we have one special guest, apparently we have kind of pseudo two, because Andrew Kaplan was in the chat saying, are you really getting Shep? Yes, I am really getting Shep, Andrew Kaplan. Shout out to Andrew Kaplan, who's in the chat. The wizard of the digital world for Infinity Sports Network and formerly Maggie and Perloff Show and DA Show, joining me here in the chat. Shout out to Cap. Hope you're enjoying the show. But yes, not only are we going to have Shep, great David Shepard. Oh my God, going crazy. Andrew, David, I'm all over the place. David Shepard joins me live here on 40 Days and 40 Nights. Shep, good to see you, man. Excited to have you on. What's going on?
Well, great to be on with you, EJ. You know, these are always tricky because we can't do a test beforehand because you're doing everything. But I hope I'm coming in clearly, and we all know the real special guest would be Andrew Kaplan. That's a no doubt about it label that he has earned, and we know how valuable he has been to our careers with social media and the digital space. And, you know, I've caught wind of what you've done with 40 Days and 40 Nights. And you're doing an extraordinary job, EJ. And you're still on WFAN, crushing it. And I'm excited for what's in your future, man. It's an honor to be on with you.
I appreciate that, Shep. And yeah, it's great to have you on. And this was, I said you were one of the people that were being requested of all the folks that I've had on the show. Last week I said, who else do you want? And people were like, what about Shep? Is Shep available? I'm like, I texted Shep. I said, you guys talk to Shep and see if he can get on the show. It ain't me. Holding them back, so I'm happy to have you here, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. David Shepard, Sirius XM NBA Radio, joining me here to talk about the NBA All-Star Weekend. What were your thoughts on the game? I'll get to the dunk contest and the Saturday night stuff in a second. But let's stick with the positive first. I thought.
Wait, EJ, I'm sorry to interrupt you. There was a dunk contest on Saturday?
Yeah, there was, unfortunately. Can't confirm if those guys actually played in the NBA, but I can confirm that the dunk contest did happen. But when I think about this Sunday game, and I think about what a lot of the players said. We have Anthony Edwards saying that, man, Victor Wembanyama set the tone. And then you have Jalen Brunson saying, yeah, man, Victor Wembanyama set the tone. And he's a special player. He's a special person. To me, there is no conversation about who the face of the NBA is. If that's the guy that all the people are following the lead for, then he's the face of the NBA. There's no conversation at this point. And I think it's a good thing. I've been saying for years that I feel like the NBA will be better off when LeBron, Steph, and Kevin Durant and the nothing matters era of the NBA is gone, and we have a new era that gets ushered in. Our only hope was that those guys wouldn't be so impacted and influenced by those other guys who didn't think All-Star games mattered, who thought joining super teams was fine. Like, all these things that were sacred to the NBA that they just seem to want to crush. Now that those guys are going to be retiring soon, you got Victor Wembanyama, who basically played that game like, hey, if you don't want to get embarrassed, you better play some defense. You better go to the paint hard, or else I'm throwing your shot in the third row. Do you agree that Victor Wembanyama right now, he's got to be the face of the NBA at this point?
Great question. Look, Ant Edwards said it multiple times on court. At his press conference, Wemby set the tone. I kind of follow suit. And EJ, I'm sure that you have mentioned this, and if not, I'm sure you will. Let's also keep it real with what happened. That was not a fair fight. Luka played 5 minutes. Nikola Jokic played 5 minutes. And the 5 minutes that both of those guys played were not exactly MVP level. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was out. That arguably is, the best player in the world right now.
Yeah.
You talk about the teamwork, and there was another key world guy that was out that I'm blanking on right now. Shea was out, I know that. Luka was playing.
Giannis didn't play.
Giannis, of course, because you know what? It didn't even occur to me because he's so busy being mic'd up and having his kids harass Wemby and all that.
Involved. Yeah, he was involved in festivities, but he didn't play.
Yeah, so I mean, like, come on now, like, that wasn't a fair fight. So everyone's like, hey, Stripes was unbelievable. You look at what Anthony Edwards was able to accomplish out there. Yeah, he was incredible. First of all, Kawhi Leonard was the star of the night, 31 points in one quarter, where he was just doing everything, like 3-point, mid-range, taking it to the 10. But if the world was healthy, that's a runaway against Stripes and against stars. But there's no question in my mind. You even saw Victor Wembanyama when they weren't able to properly execute guarding the 3-point play. And Anthony Edwards hit that shot, and he was pissed because that was not a proper rotation. And you could tell this was like a playoff game atmosphere for him. Yes, Wemby is the face of the league. The concern is, EJ, as you are an NBA historian as well, Ralph Sampson, Yao Ming, Sean Bradley, George Mirasan, Manute Bol, Mark Eaton, Boban.
Now you have to put Porzingis.
Yeah, that's a great example. The unicorn before Victor. They have never been able to stay healthy. Now Kareem was the standard. He was really the benchmark because he was 7'2", but he played 20 years and he played until he was 42 years old. But outside of anyone 7'2" and shorter, there's never been a guy who's been able to sustain a successful NBA career for more than a decade at that size. So that's the tricky part with Victor Wembanyama. We already know what happened in year 2, where he wasn't able to sustain a full season. Now, year 3, you can make an argument. Now, he's not going to have the games, which sucks. But you can make an argument there's not a more valuable player in the NBA right now than Victor Wembanyama, and the dude just turned 22 years old.
It's incredible, man. David Shepard joins me, Sirius XM NBA Radio, and the NBA All-Star MVP was Anthony Edwards, and he did also show out in this game as well. What do you see him in this conversation when we talk about the ushering of stars? Like, he is someone who is electrifying. He is someone that is, in many ways, one of the most exciting, maybe the most exciting player in the NBA because of what he can do above the rim and the handle and the jump shot and the whole combination of his game. Do you see Victor's foil potentially, if he is going to be able to stay healthy, being Ant-Man, or is it going to be somebody else?
So it's interesting because, Victor is a Spur, right? And a Spur, they let their game do the talking for them. They play within the team. They're not answering questions at the podium about, who they would let date their sister. They're not answering the question in terms of scale of 1 through 10, how attractive they are. So Ant's out there, man. He doesn't give a flying what. He is who he is, and I think Ant might be just 2 years older. if
Did you see
memory
the?
serves me
Did you see
correctly.
his white boy Mount Rushmore? He did that over the weekend, at All Star Weekend. He was asked for his white
He
boy
did a
Mount
white boy.
Rushmore. White boy
He did a
Mount
white boy Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, which I've now learned is
So in
hard to say
terms of
3 times
like,
in a row, apparently.
wow.
Yeah,
So
he had Spider Man, Justin Bieber, Timothée Chalamet. I don't remember who the fourth guy was. I don't remember who the fourth guy was.
I thought it was just.
There
I
were
thought it
three
was
real
just like
people, and it was Peter Parker.
okay, I thought it was just like a white boy Mount Rushmore of like all time great basketball players. Now, that would be that would be interesting.
Just overall white boy,
All right.
white boy Mount Rushmore. Again, he was asked the question. To be clear, it was not him
Yeah.
offering this, but he was, like you said, all well and good with the games to have fun. Which to be honest, I do feel like is. Look, the NBA just sent 200 influencers to this All-Star game, which caused all this controversy because these people aren't journalists and they're taking time away from people who need to, I guess, ask real questions. But Anthony Edwards is all about that time. He's all about having the fun.
Yeah.
He's perfect for that kind of environment. So there is an aspect too where he also may fit what the NBA needs from that regard. Because you're right, Wemby is going to satisfy the old guard because of what he did in that game and how he approaches
100%.
basketball. Where Ant-Man may serve that young audience, the audience that fell in love with Allen Iverson, the audience that fell in love with Vince Carter. Like, it may not be necessarily the all for one kind of team, kind of like the corny thing we think of when we talk about being a team player and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But in terms of the entertainment value and where the consumer is going, he may serve that aspect.
And EJ, I'll tell you what, if Wemby really wants to bring back that old hat, if he really wants to capitalize on that old school NBA fan, you know what he's doing next year?
What's that?
Dunk contest.
I thought the same thing. I'm so happy you thought the same thing. I'm gonna admit this. I don't normally admit this kind of thing, so I'll admit this here. It was a shower moment I had. I think about a lot of things in the shower. I think about how I'm gonna do shows. I think about how I'm gonna do, various different takes. I think about my life and my career, where I'm gonna find my next job. All these things. Thoughts in the shower. Thought in the shower this morning. I was like, Wemby really should do the dunk contest. What else can he do now that he's saved the All-Star game? What else could he do? I was like, he should do a dunk contest. And he's unique enough of an athlete that I think he could do well. It wouldn't be Vince Carter. It wouldn't be Mike because he's 7'5". But I still think it would be entertaining and he'd be able to do things that a lot of guys wouldn't be able to do. He should absolutely do the dunk contest. I 100% agree.
And, look, LeBron James does a lot of incredible things, okay? There is no denying, at worst, he's a top 5 basketball player in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have him as the greatest of all time because he team hopped. That's it. You can't, let's call a spade a spade. That's what he did. Greatest of all time isn't doing that. But LeBron James's legacy is intact. It's set. The one strike against him, in my opinion, because he's been damn near flawless with how he's conducted himself off the court, what he's been as an ambassador to the sport, how he's handled himself. There haven't been any serious, oh my God, moments with him. How can you do that? The guy has been near perfect off the floor. But the one strike against him was, EJ, this is one of the 4 greatest in-game dunkers in the history of the sport.
Yep.
Him, Vince, Neek, and MJ. Is that no disrespect to the late, great Kobe Bryant or the old school guys like Dr. J?
You have Doc in there, but yeah.
Yeah, Dr. J, Larry Nance,
these,
even. The power dunkers, Dwight, Amari, Shaq. But is that fair to say that those 4 would make a lot of people's Mount Rushmore list in terms of greatest in-game dunkers?
Definitely.
EJ, LeBron James, every chance he got, would tease us of how incredible his dunks were. He even came out and made a public statement saying he would compete in the dunk contest.
Yep.
Kobe did it. MJ did it. Vince did it. Neek did it. Dwight did it. LeBron's above it. So the 2 things that people are going to hold against LeBron, fair or unfair, because this is his era. It's always going to be the LeBron James era. The 90s was the Jordan era. The 80s was the Magic Bird era. 70s was the Kareem era. 60s was the Celtics. 50s was everyone's era. Pettit, Mikan, Shays, Russell early on, Kuz, Sharman.
Yep.
40s was, Mike in once he was a Minneapolis Laker. But the point is, in the LeBron James era, we completely had the dunk contest become an afterthought, and then the All-Star game became non-competitive. That's going to be attached to him, fair or unfair, because EJ, if Kobe was out there for these last 10 seasons, we wouldn't be complaining about the All-Star game. I promise you that.
No,
I promise you.
No, definitely.
If MJ was out there, if Magic was out there, we wouldn't have these conversations about these athletes tiptoeing around the All-Star game and laying down and acting like they're on a beach celebrating their honeymoon. So that's something that LeBron is going to have to answer to, whether he likes it or not, and whether it's fair or unfair. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think most people are going to point the finger at LeBron and say, this was your era, you led the charge, and everyone fell asleep at the All-Star game and dunk contest because of your attitude from the very beginning.
No, I think you're 100% right. I think it's fair because, like I said, because and I know you probably feel the same way. Like what we kept hearing from folks who have been defending the LeBrons and the Durants and the Stephs about the failure that has become All-Star Weekend has been, well, what do you want them to do? Like, how are they going to change what everyone else does? And again, now sometimes I'm like, maybe these folks just don't understand basketball. Like a lot of times I had to grapple with that. Like I remember watching, it was HBO where they used to do that 247 like boxing thing where they have like Floyd Mayweather and whoever his opponent was, and they like do a documentary essentially like following them for X amount of weeks before the fight. And I remember like Roger Mayweather, who was Floyd's trainer at the time, he was training him or something, and they were like talking to somebody was trying to like ask him things and like say, well, why don't you see this? Why is it? And then he simply kept saying, and this is the first time I'm ever gonna curse on 40 Days and 40 Nights. Other people have cursed, so it's fine. But just to make sure you get the quote, he was like, "You people just don't know shit about boxing. Like I don't know what to tell you if you keep asking me you keep asking these questions and like you're saying that I'm like if you're not understanding what I'm telling you, then you just don't know shit about boxing." And I've had to come to grips with that. I'm like, there's some people who just don't know shit about basketball. So when people say, what could LeBron have possibly done in an All-Star game to make people play hard? I'm like, you don't know anything about basketball. Like, it's actually very, but these people are like, oh, you guys don't get it, and we don't understand, and you guys are just being too harsh on him. And then Victor Wembanyama, what, his third All-Star game? Second one he's played in? He gets everybody to play hard. I'm like, that's what he had to do. That's all he had to do. Go out there and dunk in somebody's face and punch somebody's shot, and then guys are going to start saying, oh, this is a little different now. That's all he had to do. Now, if you want to say he was too old, he's too whatever, you want to make all these excuses, that's fine. But that's what I was asking for. And
right.
It's real simple. So, yeah, I think it's 100% fair. Like, he made it clear that these things did not matter, and the other things he was doing to be an ambassador for the league, which he does a lot of other great things. He's a very charitable guy. He's a philanthropist. Like, he does a lot of other good things. These other things also matter, too. And he didn't think those things mattered. And, therefore, we saw the attitude that came with NBA All-Star Weekend becoming the joke that it is. If he does the All-Star, he does a dunk contest, I don't think we're in the position we are today where we're talking about how bad it is. Where a guy who, again, I keep having to remember that he was in the NBA prior to him being announced he was in the All-Star in a dunk contest, who won it,
right.
Shad Johnson. Like, it's a shame.
EJ, EJ, I'm going to be honest with you, and I appreciate your honesty and transparency with the audience. And by the way, it is great to see Daly. It's great to see General. It's great to see Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we got the loyal CBS Sports Radio fans right here. I love this, man.
They've been rocking with 40 Days and 40 Nights this whole time.
It's great to see. Seriously, folks, you guys. I hope, and I've said this on the airwaves so many times. You guys were the best audience ever. You guys were the absolute best audience ever. We fed off. I mean, yeah, we take pride in what we do, so we were going to show up and do a kick-ass job, I believe, no matter what. But it only added to how much we wanted to perform and how well we wanted to do, because our audience was just simply bleeping incredible. I'm so used to terrestrial radio that I still don't curse whenever I'm on podcasts and whatnot.
Trust me, I've done 26 days, which
right.
I've done, what, 50, this is my 53rd show, right? 52nd show. I have not cursed once. I've had Maggie curse. Keith has dropped F-bombs. Other people have cursed. And I'm like, all right, what are you going? But I mean, it's YouTube. We can say whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. But yeah,
Right.
no, my
No,
my instinct for
but
the
here's
radio
but
is to
EJ,
not curse. And you
but
work
you're
on
smart though
Sirius, where
because
technically you can curse. It's funny.
but yeah, I know, but you're smart because you know your next full-time gig is coming sooner than later because of your hustle, because of your experience,
Thank you.
because of your resume and all that. And you just never know. You just never know who's watching how that comes off if someone doesn't know you. So I think it's smart to err on the side of caution. Um, but it's funny because General brings up a good point, EJ, and he says, well, wait a minute, people change employers all the time. But my rebuttal to General would be yes, but when they change, but sports is different. Sports is different. A typical employer, they're not answering questions at the end of each workday. You know what I mean? They're not signing autographs. They're not signing autographs, right? Right before they go out and pitch a contract or try to rebuttal something in a boardroom. Sports is different. Sports is different. When Lane Kiffin changed teams, and I hate how he did it, but when he changed teams and went from Ole Miss to LSU, that became international news. So it's not the same thing. When you change teams in sports, you are suggesting that you don't have what it takes, or you and that specific organization don't have what it takes to get it done, especially when you do so via free agency. In Kareem's case, it was a trade, so it doesn't get held against him like it does LeBron, because every time he's left, he's never been traded. It's always been via free agency. But when he's been a free agent and he's left his team, he's always gone to a better situation.
Yep, every time.
He didn't win the championship with the Lakers with the Brandon Ingrams of the world and Alonzo Balls, right? Yeah. He won it because the Lakers did what LeBron wanted, and Clutch Sports represented Anthony Davis, and they brought in a guy in Anthony Davis who at the time was better than Giannis, was better than Joel Embiid, was better than Nikola Jokic. He was better than all those guys at the time. He was the best big in the game. When LeBron James went to the Miami Heat, General, he didn't just go to a different team. He went to a team that was stacked with 2 top 15 players in the world. And oh yeah, one of the greatest basketball minds in the history of the sport in Pat Riley. So it's not like LeBron James said, you know what, I'm going to go to a team and I'm going to go to a team that hasn't had success and we're going to completely rebuild. No, he went to already made situations. That's the difference. When he went back to Cleveland, he didn't go back to Cleveland because of the kindness of his heart. He went back to Cleveland because he saw a guy speaking of wizards, Andrew Kaplan, the ultimate wizard in the NBA, EJ, it's Kyrie Irving. You saw what Kyrie Irving was able to do as a rookie. You said, you know what, that might be the greatest ball handler I've ever seen. And you know what? LeBron James didn't do it with the guy that they drafted in Andrew Wiggins. He said, you know what? No, I want to stack the deck. I want to go after and get Kevin Love, one of the best power forwards in the sport. So there's context and nuance to this, General.
Of course.
It's not just, hey, LeBron James changed employers. He changed employers, and he made sure that when he did so, the deck was stacked for him to have a much better shot at winning the championship. And MJ never did that. Bird never did that. Magic never did that. And if you want to say, Shep, different era, different generation, you know what? Steph never did that. Yes, KD went to Golden State. Steph won 2 championships without Kevin Durant.
Well, one championship without Kevin Durant.
2.
Oh,
2016.
You mean the first one? I do you meant
2015, 2022.
No, right,
and what about Giannis? What about Nikola Jokic?
Yeah, well, Giannis will see.
So you can win in the sport without team hopping. Those guys are examples of that.
No question. David Shepard here, joining me here from Sirius XM NBA Radio. I do want to get, before we move on to the rest of the season, kind of what we're looking at for the rest of the season, the wrap up on All-Star Weekend. I think the dunk contest is dead. I think it has to go by the wayside. Now, we and you both put out there that Victor Wembanyama, you should be in the dunk contest. You're our only hope. It's like Obi-Wan Kenobi and where Princess Leia, like my brother said a couple of shows ago. Like, you're our only hope, Victor Wembanyama. Maybe he can join in, and I think that would make some other guys say, hey, maybe I should do this thing. But other than that, I mean, Kashad Johnson wins, and I put a lackluster dunk contest because that's what it was. I don't know why they thought Jackson Hayes being in this thing was a good idea. I thought Jason Richardson gave himself a concussion on the floor when he went and tried to do a 360. I don't know why he was in dunk contest. I know his dad was a dunker. I don't think of Jace Richardson. I didn't think of him as an athlete at Michigan State. I didn't think of him as a dunker in the NBA in the short time he's been in the league as a rookie. So I don't know why he was even in there. And Keshad Johnson, I know he can win a dance contest. I know that. I mean, he had moves ready to go every time he made a dunk. But I mean, the dunks at this point, you know, I saw Kofi on YouTube talk about this, and the reality is the best dunkers aren't in the NBA anymore. Like, there are professional dunkers now. There are, like, Mac McClung, I guess he does play in the G League, but he's like these professional dunkers that spend time just trying to come up with dunks. And I don't know if it means maybe bringing those folks in as part of NBA All-Star Weekend, and maybe it's not the final, event of the day. Maybe the final event is a 3-point contest, but maybe that's an earlier event where we see some cool dunks. But putting in guys who are anonymous to do dunks that we've already seen before doesn't work. If they're stars, if you're talking about, if this is, again, Victor Wembanyama, if this is Ja Morant, if this is Anthony Edwards, Zion Williamson doing some of these dunks, I think there's automatically more excitement because they're stars. But if it's going to be just anonymous G League types or guys that are end of the bench or guys that are just breaking in a rotation like Carter Bryant, like, that's going to be a lot harder for us to get excited for, even when some of the dunks were pretty good. Like, Carter Bryant had some nice dunks, but it's just the sizzle is gone. I think at this point in time, like, it's sad that it's had to go away, but I think they're going to have to put it away because this was terrible. This was objectively terrible in my opinion.
I had to do the SiriusXM NBA radio postgame show that night, and I've never stretched like that before to make a show sound good. I mean, like, look, congrats to Dame. I thought that was an incredible story. I thought the Shooting Stars was pretty cool. By the way, as a big Knicks guy, I know you can appreciate Allen Houston still looking like he can play.
Oh, of course.
He's
in great shape.
He's one of those what if guys. You feel like that guy should have been a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
The microfracture knee surgery was getting everybody at that time.
100%. And by the way, I mean, listen, I'm comfortable with my sexuality and all that. That man is handsome. He does not age.
Also a very handsome man, yes.
I mean, my Allen Houston, man. If anyone ever says, hey, you can't be attractive past the age of 50, just look at Allen Houston, my God. But look, now I'm going to quickly get off that for a second. When it comes to the slam dunk contest, and EJ, to your point, that's where somebody like Wemby, somebody like Anthony Edwards, even a Stephon Castle, because I see him being an all-star next year. I think he could have made.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. But when Jordan was the best player in the league, he was in dunk contests. He was the best player in the league. Now look, Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, those guys weren't. Zach LaVine has been an all-star. Aaron Gordon has been an all-star borderline caliber player. But you knew it was universal. Those guys were the best dunkers in the game. So like that was able to fly. But that's where, you want to bring back the sizzle and the swag to the dunk contest. If you really want to take that next step, if you're Victor Wembanyama, if you're Anthony Edwards, people forget this. Kareem used to be a part of dunk contests.
I know. Yeah.
Way back in the day. And it's harder for guys who are 7'2", 7'3", 7'4", 7'5". But I don't think the solution is canceling it. I think the solution is you just need one guy, like you saw in this All-Star game, to kind of step up and say, you know what, I'm doing this. Like even Jalen Johnson, when he was put on the spot on Friday.
Somebody, I know.
Yeah, he said, "Look, I'll do it." The guy who I think people would want to see do it, and I would be shocked if he's not an All-Star next year. Speaking of Anthony Edwards picking his favorite white boys.
Oh, you're talking about Cooper.
Bingo.
Yeah, I thought, but again, Cooper, I guess he got hurt, but he was supposed to be in the Rising Stars. I thought this would have been an opportunity for him to do it maybe this year. Like, again, I thought he would have been a great choice. He has done high school slam dunk contests. And I don't know. I feel like, so my theory in terms of what I think will get people out is I don't know why the NBA doesn't do this, because they certainly have the money. They just signed for $75 billion for this last TV show. $5 million to the person who wins. You guys get them out of bed. Nobody's turning down an opportunity to win $5 million. Even for Anthony Edwards, that's a lot of money. That's like what? 20, like what? Him, I know it's not as much, but like what, 20% of your salary? 5%. You take that for one night of work. This $5 million. Whoever wins the dunk contest, you get $5 million. You have the money. The NBA has the money to spend $5 million on one night is not a crazy thing at all.
But is that putting a Band-Aid on a bullet? You know what I mean? Like, is that
yeah, maybe.
Do we just pour money? EJ, these guys. I can't speak for you. I can speak for me. They're going to be making more money in one night than I will in an entire year.
Yeah.
One night. And by the way, if you really want to avoid tanking, unless you are out for the season, like Jason Tatum, or although we know he's probably coming back, but someone like a Tyrese Halliburton, somebody like a Damian Lillard, unless you cannot physically go, if you are resting, if you are erring on the side of caution, because I know tanking has been a really hot topic, you don't get paid. You don't get paid for that day. If you're on the bench and you're able to get up and clap and support your team, and you're not on crutches, or you're not in a wheelchair, or you're not rehabbing, you don't get paid for that game. And I guarantee you, there's going to be a lot of guys who are saying, you know what? I get paid about $500,000 a game. I'm going to be out there. Yeah. So that I think would avoid a lot of this tanking.
Let's get to the tanking thing, because it's funny you mentioned that, because I think a lot of this, what players have said, and I believe them, I think they're right, because it makes sense, is that the tanking, the load management stuff, that's not on the player. It's the team that is saying you're sitting. Most of the guys do want to play. Do you have some of the older guys that maybe they're a little old, like Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James? Will they tell you, hey, I can't go tonight because X, Y, and Z? Sure. But these other guys that have been guys that are in the prime of their careers, or guys that aren't dealing with nagging injuries or long debilitating injuries, like Joel Embiid. I think Joel Embiid sits where all right, bro, we get it. You have the knees of a 70-year-old man. We don't want you getting hurt. So, but
right.
The other guys that have been sitting, again, we talk about Jaren Jackson Jr., Lauri Markkanen, Pascal Siakam. You're looking at it and say, well, these guys are fine. These guys are young guys. Why are they sitting? They'll say it's on the teams. I have what I think is a simple solution to tanking. It essentially is a two-pronged solution. Well, I guess three-pronged, technically, if I put it this way. Number one, you got to get rid of pick protections. No more pick protections on any trades. Just that, because that is now making people make this like a game of darts, where they're as long as we're bottom 6, we're fine. Just lose enough to be bottom 6, and or 8 or 10 or whatever, or 4, whatever the case may be. You get rid of pick protections, that's going to help a lot of this. But then the other one that's more drastic, that goes into how to actually solve the draft lottery aspect of this, is flatten the odds. You don't make the playoffs, you all got the same shot to get the number 1 pick in the draft. There is no longer if you're this bad, you get 15%. If you're this bad, you get 3%. Nope, you all stink. You all didn't make it. So here's even odds. And if we come into the question, because the question becomes immediately, all right, well, what happens when a team decides that they'd rather be in the lottery than make the playoffs? Number one, I would argue that's only going to be a couple of teams that are doing that. So, that's different than having these swath of teams where you got the Nets, the Pacers, the Wizards, the Jazz, all these different teams that are tanking, where it's like a quarter of the league feels like they're tanking. Now you're talking about a couple teams, that's one thing. That's okay, fine. Put everybody in the lottery then. If they're going to be teams, they're going to say, I don't care about getting the number one.
I agree.
Just put them all in there, and that will give everybody a 3% shot. 3% shot. I don't think that changes the balance of the NBA. People are like, oh, you're going to ruin parity. No, you're not. If the Portland Trailblazers, if they could make the playoffs, if the Trailblazers got the number 1 pick, that would have upset any parity issues. You'd be like, oh, cool. Okay, that's a young team that's up and coming. That'd be interesting. If the Magic got the number 1 pick, you'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, will it be a year where the Thunder or the Knicks or the Pistons get it? Yeah, but it's a 3% shot. It's luck. It happens. I don't think that this is this disastrous thing, especially when we see a lot of these young guys. Every draft is not guaranteed, Shep. With every Cooper Flag and Victor Wembanyama, you get a Victor Ricochet and an Anthony Bennett. We don't know what the number 1 pick's gonna be. We don't know
I don't know if Zachary Ricochet is Anthony Bennett yet, though. Is that?
I'm not saying that he's that bad. I think I'm saying this idea that there's gonna be this game changing guy. Oh no, you'll be giving Victor Wembanyama to the
EJ
Thunder. I'm like, no, odds are you won't actually.
Right, but to your point, like, what do Giannis, Nikola Jokic, Jalen Brunson, and Kawhi Leonard have in common? What do all four of those guys have in common?
None of them are lottery picks.
Bingo. Bingo. One was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial.
Right.
EJ, if anyone wants to YouTube Nikola Jokic's draft, which was 2014, there is not a single analysis on someone that would eventually become a top 20 player in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
He is by far the best player from that draft class. Okay, and that was the draft class with Andrew Wiggins when we thought it was a foregone conclusion that Andrew Wiggins and I think that was the Jabari Parker draft.
Parker. Yeah.
And obviously Joel Embiid, who's definitely the second best player from that draft class.
Yeah.
But EJ, there's not a single analysis. There is literally a 45-second analysis of Giannis Antetokounmpo when he was drafted in 2013. Okay, like to your point, I mean, Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves would have been an all-star if he was healthy. If he was healthy for the entire season, he was undrafted. So, like, tanking doesn't assure you anything. It doesn't assure you anything. Like Philadelphia, they openly tanked for a decade, and what do they have to show for it? The last time they made it out of the second round, you and I were going to public school. So, like,
yep.
Yeah, like that's, and I because I know you're a little younger than me. So I know I can assume that we were both in school at that point, right? So like,
I was in elementary school.
Yeah, like I was a freshman in high school. So like for me, you know, that's not the solution. And I'm with you. Babe, where do you finish? Whatever your seeding is, whether you make the playoffs, whether you don't make the playoffs, that should have no bearing on what happens to you next year. You want parity. That's why you give these teams an opportunity to draft, high the next year. Why are you getting rewarded if you stink? That's not how life works.
Yeah.
If you do poorly as a company and you don't have certain revenue goals that are hit and you don't have certain net profits that you are making, the next year, does the Better Bureau, or I think it's called the Better Bureau organization that runs businesses in corporate America, do they say to Wharton and Columbia Business School and Northwestern, hey, this company really stunk it up. We're going to take the top business candidates and we're going to make sure they go to this company. That's not how it works in the private sector. Why is it working like that in the NBA? It shouldn't be that way in the NFL, EJ. You shouldn't openly tank, and my humble opinion, no disrespect to Pete Carroll, he was put in a no-win situation. Yes, Ashton Genty is a good player. Yes, Max Crosby is a good player. But I mean, and Geno Smith, and I love Geno Smith, but he was put in a no-win situation either. But that team wasn't winning more than 6 games if they had Vince Lombardi reincarnated. Right. So why should they get rewarded? Because they stunk it up. It's not just applicable to the NBA, even though it's a lot more likely to tank in an 82-game season than it is in a 17-game season, because clearly there's a lot more games to tank, so it becomes a lot more prevalent.
Right, that's the thing, right? That's why in the NFL I don't mind it as much, because at the very least it's such a short amount of the games. It's only 17 games, right? 18 weeks.
Right.
So by the time when a team is in a position where they can actually tank, we're talking about we're at the last, basically what we saw with the Giants, right? The Giants, Raiders, and Jets were playing these games. I was like, oh, let's see. But we're talking about week 15, week 14, where we're really deciding, all right, who's trying to tank. And then some teams still don't believe in it. The Giants still don't actually believe in the practice of tanking, even though they're in a sport where there is no lottery. I don't understand what they're doing. But so I think the NFL is okay. Like I don't mind it as much, because if a team loses, the season gets out of hand, and then you're at the end of it, okay, you decided we're going to try to tank these last few games. No one cares what the Raiders are doing in the last 3 weeks of the season. But with the NBA, the problem ends up being months. The Utah Jazz have been doing this since January, basically.
Yeah, that whole situation against the Miami Heat was ridiculous. By the way, and clearly they are tanking. Obviously, everyone knows this, because Will Hardy would have been fired a couple of years ago if they weren't. Yeah. But I will say this: if you are going to subtly tank, or conservatively tank, whatever you want to label it as, you better be saying before that game, all you guys who are paying face value for ticket prices, for merchandise, we're taking 80% off. Right. 80% off. And I think people would be a little more lenient if that's the case. But, yesterday's All-Star game at Intuit Dome, EJ, the cheapest ticket was $1,000 to get in. $1,000 in a nosebleed section. Like sports is huge business, man. And I love Daly. If you're not 100% accurate on something, Daly is going to be the first one to make sure that he lets you know. Now, Daly, the Better Business Bureau and the FCC, they do have they do have cachet and legislature when it comes to how businesses conduct themselves. Yes, businesses are free enterprise, but in terms of what they can do as LLCs, EJ Stewart did not think on Monday morning he was going to be talking LLCs when it comes to the All-Star game. When it comes to like C Corps and all that.
Screwed up this morning. I got no coffee now. I'm like, oh my God, where are we going?
I got to tell you something, man. You're pretty good for a guy who has no coffee, man. I wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. By the way, man, it's funny because I think about Infinity a lot.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, Shep, you don't think about a former girlfriend or you don't think about a former partner, but that was such a special time in my career. And I've said this. Let me say this to you.
Yeah.
How smart would it be for someone out there? Because you got all this talent that's still out there, right? I mean, you're doing WFAN, I'm doing SiriusXM NBA radio. We're very fortunate that we've had people look out for us, and we're good enough where we can have those opportunities after, unfortunately after Infinity Sports Network went bye-bye. But you got all this talent out there right now, man. That's salivating to get behind a mic again. Wouldn't it be amazing if there's an executive out there that says, you know what, I'm gonna start my own YouTube channel, or I'm gonna start my own radio network, whatever the case may be. And they tapped into most of what Infinity Sports Network was. I just wanted to run that by you because you're always a big picture thinker.
Visionary.
You always see a step ahead, and it's why I would always come on with you. By the way, if EJ Stewart wants me on any of his programs, I'm always coming on. So,
I appreciate that, Shep. Yeah, listen, somebody's got the big bucks to fund this and allow me to pay my rent every month. I would appreciate that. I'm definitely down for that, of course. I don't know if that fairy godmother or fairy godfather is coming down the pipe anytime soon, but there's no question between you and I and Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, Andrew Bogish, Manny Rodriguez, obviously Zach Gell, Carlos and Bart Winkler, JR,
Jody Mack,
Jody McDonald, Carl Duke.
Yep. Andy Gresh.
Yeah, Andy Gresh. Yeah, I was getting to him. Carrington Harrison. I mean, yeah, I can go.
Carl Dukes
forever. Yeah, I said Carl Dukes. I made sure I
okay, the amount of talent. like Ryan Hickey.
Ryan Hickey. Yeah, shout out to Hickey. Hickey's one of the guys that I get on here soon as well.
There's so much talent that's. I mean, Mike Samter, Stu Kovacs,
Yeah.
Bill Ryder,
Bill Ryder,
Nico Scarlett. Like, there's so many people. By the way, did I miss an announcement? Did Maggie and Perloff? Are they? I know it's coming, but they're both really good people. They're very talented. I haven't missed anything, have I?
No, you have not missed nothing. Nothing's
Okay.
been announced yet. Nothing's been announced.
Okay.
We had Perloff on last week. He gave the update that they're still working on a couple of things, but something's coming down.
Gotcha. I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, man. It's great to have you, man. David Shepard here joining me here, 40 days, 40 nights. When you look at the second half of this season, if you had to say a team that could knock out the OKC Thunder in the West, A, is it possible? And B, if it is possible, who's the team you're looking at?
So there's two. The Spurs, obviously, because of the head-to-head record, right? Even with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they're 3-1 against the defending world champions. There's just no formula for guarding Victor Wembanyama. You can't, if you play him high, he's going to go down low and he's going to post you up, and he's going to be a walking bucket because of his dexterity, his skill set, and how tall he is, and his wingspan, how easy he can get baskets down low. He's Inspector Gadget. There's never been anybody like him, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be like a disadvantage for anyone who plays him. The emergence of Steph Castle, the emergence of the Aaron Fox, who is an underrated player who a lot of people don't talk about. The Jeremy Sohan thing, excuse me, I think they let him go too easily. This was a guy who was getting legitimate minutes as a starter 2 years ago. I don't know what that was about, but the Spurs without question. And then the Denver Nuggets, because the Denver Nuggets are a better team than they were 2 years ago. Or excuse me, now it was 3 years ago when they won an NBA championship, because I like Michael Porter Jr. a lot. I think Cam Johnson is a better fit. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is a great fit, former Knick, twice, by the way. I think he's a great fit for that team. He shoots it as quick as anybody in the league. You bring back Bruce Brown. You talk about individuals like Peyton Watson. You talk about Julian Strother. They're a really deep team, something they haven't been in quite some time. And then Christian Brown, I think he's an unbelievable player in his fourth year. So if Nikola Jokic can stay healthy, and that's usually a good probability,
Yeah.
that's still the best 1-2 punch in the NBA. And I think David Adelman's done an amazing job. That was a messy situation, EJ. I'm looking forward to talking about that more. I'm looking forward to hearing Chris Paul's version, by the way, of what the hell happened. I'm still not over that. You're an NBA historian. Why didn't the All-Star game honor him? And by the way, this is not the NBA does a lot of things right.
Well,
Adam
I
Silver's the
think
best commissioner in
short
the
answer.
sport.
I don't think the Clippers want anything to do with him. That was going to happen in the Clippers' home arena. They are hosting the All-Star game. They are the ones that got rid of him. So I assume, yes, the NBA runs the All-Star game, but anything that would have to be done is going to be run through Steve Ballmer and run through the Clippers. I'm sure they were like, it's a little, even if it's not even we have any beef with him. It might just be this is awkward. We basically got rid of him
But
in
it's all,
his NBA
but
career,
it's
and then
already
now we're
it's
going to
already
honor him.
awkward.
I
But
know.
it's already awkward.
I know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I think that's why it happened. Why it didn't happen.
No, but that's where leadership has to prevail. Like
Well, Adam
EJ.
Silver being the leader that you need him to be. I gotta agree
Now
with you
remember
there.
something. I work for the NBA, so even
I
if I
know. I
didn't,
know.
even if I didn't think he was a good leader, I couldn't say that. But truthfully, he is a good leader, and he does. The buck does stop with him. Like you
Yeah.
saw how creative he was with the NBA Cup, and how creative he's been with the changing
Yeah.
and the
The
recalibrating of
All
the All
Star
Star
game that just
format.
happened was great. I
Yeah,
mean, that was
look,
behind,
look,
due
look,
behind that.
look. Steve Ballmer is the opposite of Donald Sterling. He does seem to be a good human being. I'm sure this was not easy for him to say goodbye in the middle of the night to his greatest player in franchise history, a guy that, without question, brought the Clippers out of the bottom dwelling state that they were in and made them relevant.
Yeah.
Right? Like Chris Paul's the greatest player in franchise history. Like no disrespect to Blake or DJ or Pooh Richardson or Sam Cassell, but that's the greatest Clipper of all time.
Elton Brand
Vin,
slander,
Vin,
by the way.
I'm sorry.
That's Elton Brand slander, by the way.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But they made the playoffs once in the Elton Brand era,
I
and the
know.
Corey
Yeah,
Maggette era,
no,
and the
no,
Sam
I
Cassell
disagree
era.
on that one.
They
Yeah,
made
I
it every
disagree
year
on
with
that
CP3. And
Yeah.
by the way, it's funny because Elton Brand doesn't get talked about a lot. We always talk about those great power forwards in the late '90s and
Yeah.
early 2000s. Dirk, KG, Duncan, Sheed. We never talk about Elton Brand. Elton Brand was a really, really damn good
Played
player.
up too many losing
And by the way,
teams.
if Ralph Sampson's in the Hall of Fame, Elton Brand needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I don't know about that. Because the thing is about the Hall of Fame is they take into account your entire basketball career. So Ralph Sampson is one of the greatest college basketball players of all time. And that's
So
certainly
why
he's
so
in the Hall
so
of Fame.
why isn't Christian Laettner in the Hall of Fame?
Because he was not a good NBA player as Ralph Sampson was.
Played he
Ralph
he
Sampson's
played
a
12
four-time
seasons.
All-Star. I know, Ralph Sampson's a 4-time All-Star.
So why is Vlade Divac in the Hall of Fame?
That's the international thing. I hate First of all, I hate the way the Basketball Hall of Fame is handled. I hate everything about it. I love the actual Basketball Hall of Fame. I've been there a bunch. Oh, not a bunch, but one time.
Right.
But it's beautiful. It's if you love basketball, if you love sports,
Yeah.
it's a great place to go to Springfield, Massachusetts. Is worth the price of admission. It's really awesome. I hate how they induct people and with the rules behind it because you got Dino Raja, you got Vlade Divac. The international guys, like, you don't have to be as good a pro.
Right. Oh, I
to
agree.
get
Tony
into the Hall
Kukoc
of
is not a
Fame.
Tony Kukoc is not a Hall of Famer.
Right. Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any
Oscar
sense.
Schmidt is not a Hall of Famer.
I know. I don't disagree
Right.
with those. But I'm saying, but if saying when it comes to Elton Brand, it's like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
unfortunately, in this weird way they do Hall of Fame, there are different set of rules for different people. So I have to take, okay, Elton Brand's NBA career, and then, okay, what was his college career? Because he was only there for, 1 year? Like, I think it's like, I don't think that there's enough.
So Brand was National Player of the Year his sophomore year.
Yeah, sophomore year.
William Avery was there for a year.
Yes, yeah. That was the first
EJ,
year that Coach K had a bunch of guys leave early. William Avery, Corey
Right, and by the way, I don't know why Rajon Rondo hasn't been put into this Hall of Fame class. Rajon Rondo was more important to the NBA than Blake Griffin was. Rajon Rondo was more important to the NBA than Amari Stoudemire was. And Amari's prime was obviously better than Rondo's, and Blake's
Yeah.
prime was better than Rondo's. But Rajon Rondo is just as much a Hall of Famer as Blake Griffin. Does Amari, do Amari and Blake get in first ballot for you? I'm sorry. Amari wouldn't be first ballot.
Spot. Yeah, Amari wouldn't be first ballot. Blake would be, right? Amari,
but is he a first ballot Hall of Famer in your eyes?
So here's another thing about the Hall of Fame. I don't believe in the idea of first ballot. Anybody that I think is a Hall of Famer, I would vote for them in the first year of eligibility. So therefore, yes, they're first ballot Hall of Famers. They're easy Hall of Famers. That's not a question.
Wait, talking about Blake's an easy Hall of Famer?
He's an easy Hall of Famer. Yeah, definitely.
Easy?
How many All-Star games did he make? 6, 7? Yeah. He was to me. Here's the thing about All-Star. Here's the thing about Hall of Fame players. Were you a dominant player for an extended period of time? If the answer is yes, to me, you're a Hall of Famer. There's not really much other. We can go other things in terms of like other aspects of picking apart their careers. But was Blake Griffin a dominant player in his position for an extended amount of time? He was. He's a Hall of Famer. It makes it simple. His team won enough. They were a playoff team consistently. He had injuries, of course, and he wasn't able to maybe have the extended prime that he should have had. But he had enough of a prime to be a Hall of Famer. No question about that.
See, Blake didn't win before CP3. And then when he went to Detroit, he didn't win.
Chris Paul got there very early in his career. So I don't think it's fair to say that he could not have won without Chris Paul.
Fair, but then if you look at
that's when the injuries mounted up. That first year when he got to Detroit, I think he did take him to the playoffs, and he was awesome. People forget how good he was in that first year. How many
playoff games did they win?
He got hurt. He was not the same player.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he was like, and those were bad Detroit teams. Like that was Detroit essentially trying to save whatever little thing they had before they went into a complete tank mode situation. But I'm not the biggest Blake Griffin like stan. I've never been that guy. Me and my dad's always argued about Blake Griffin's impact in the NBA. But in terms of a Hall of Famer, again, based on the guys that are in there, no question. I'm going off.
Yeah, no. I get that, but we
like what we have. Like I think a guy who, how many years in a row he averaged 20 points a game, All-Star games, like dunk contests. I think that does mean something. You had impactful moments in terms of your
who had EJ? Who had a better career, Chris Webber or Blake Griffin?
I say C Webb. He took a step further.
It took C Webb like a decade to get in.
It was ridiculous. I think they were holding a lot of the Fab Five stuff with the NCAA violations against him. I think that as we started to move away from that, then they decided. And you know what's weird about Chris Webber's career? I feel like because of the timeout, because of the Kings falling short, he just gets labeled as like a loser, and it's insane because he was so talented. Whereas someone like Blake Griffin, I think he's got better PR. He does the commercials. He's a smiling face on television. He's a naturally funny, charming guy, and he just doesn't get the same label, even though he lost just as much and maybe even more spectacularly in some ways than Chris Webber. Right? How many 3-1 leads did they blow when he was there with the Clippers? So,
by the way, EJ,
it's a weird thing.
How good has Amazon Prime been?
I think Prime and Peacock have been amazing. I think that both have been a breath of fresh air. Shout out to the TNT crew that's now the ESPN crew. And what I like is I think to me, everybody gets a little of what they want. Because I was one of the folks that I've been standing 10 toes down that I think we've moved past what Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie bring to the NBA at this point in time. At least what they became. I think there was a time when they were a lot more lighthearted. They didn't take themselves quite as seriously, and it wasn't so much a let's just like roast guys in the NBA all the time. And then it kind of became that. And at a certain point, it was like I just think the fans overall, I don't think we want to just dunk on. I guess now is it Conley Towns or is it whoever got Rudy Gobert? Like we all know these guys and their flaws. Like I think we want to just know that you guys actually are watching the games, you're paying attention, you actually have takes. And it seemed like they kind of didn't. So I was like, I think we moved on from that. But there are a lot of fans when they canceled that show that were furious. And I understand it. They're extremely funny. They do a phenomenal job with their studio show. The production of it is awesome. They're all very talented individual talents, and as a collective, they're a great team. But to me, I was like, I think for the NBA and where it's going, I don't know if we need this anymore. But a lot of people still wanted it, so you still have them. But I think what you have with what Prime is doing with Blake and Dirk and Steve Nash and Udonis Haslem, and trying to say, hey, let's try to bring maybe more actual basketball analysis, and actually, for the game that maybe you wouldn't care about, the December game between the Lakers and T-Wolves, but somebody out there watching who spent time watching this game, they do care. So let's actually give them real analysis about what's going on, and really kind of try to break this thing down with guys who have actually played against some of the guys that are playing in the NBA, not guys that haven't played since the early 2000s or mid 2000s, right? And I think Peacock's the same way, where it's like, okay, let's bring in younger guys who have actually played against some of these guys or know some of these guys, and let's actually talk about the game. I know we get into the idea of like, oh, are we too worried about celebrating the game? Is that the job of a person doing that kind of show? I don't think it's about celebrating the game. It's about actually acting like
talking about the game and watching the games. If you're Charles Barkley,
watch the game, and then give me analysis on it. If you don't care about it, then go do something else.
If you're Charles Barkley and you're openly admitting that you're watching, Thursday Night Football over the NBA games that you're paid to cover, that's a problem. And Robbie Hummel, Austin
awesome.
Rivers.
Yeah, I love Robbie Hummel. Robbie Hummel is great in college basketball. Like he was a star on NBC when they were doing Big Ten stuff. So when they moved him over to the NBA, I knew he would be good.
Yeah. No, it's a special time in the NBA. The two things that I'd like to see happen differently. To your point, there needs to be an NBA Hall of Fame. That would make. Listen, you don't do it in baseball. You don't do it in hockey. You don't do it in football. The NBA, the Hall of Fame should matter. It should be exclusive. It should be rare air, and that's not what it has become. So to your point, that's something I would like to see. The other thing I would like to see, as a child of the '90s as well, is bring MJ to the big games. To the big games. None of this, hey, pre-recorded interview in September and let's have it be an hour, every month. That doesn't fool anybody, right? This is the greatest athlete of our lifetime, who is actually very charismatic and is very, very, very effective in his speech, and he makes some great points, and he's very poignant. Can you imagine having MJ at the All-Star game? Like I got goosebumps with John Tesh and Bob Costas.
That was legit.
I mean, because I remember the NBA on NBC in the 90s. I remember it in the early 2000s. Can you imagine if Michael Jordan was there interviewing LeBron James, interviewing Steph Curry, interviewing Kawhi Leonard?
Mike don't want to do that though. Mike don't want to do that. Mike, you saw Mike where he was this weekend, right?
Yeah, he was winning didn't he win a cup?
Yeah, he won Daytona 500, first one he won.
Right.
And you saw how happy he was. I haven't seen someone said this, man, and it's not my joke, and I'm not stealing it. But someone said that I haven't seen Mike this happy since a craps table in Atlantic City in 1993. He was as excited. I mean, you would have thought he won another NBA championship. I don't think that there's enough money in the world to make Mike do that. Will he sit there and do a pre-taped interview? Sure. To come back, even if it's just for 5 games a year or 10 games a year, and then an All-Star game, I don't think there's enough money for him.
I hear that.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think he really enjoys being Michael Jordan and having nothing to do with like being like a basketball guy. He gave up the Hornets because he wasn't good at running a team, and I think it gave him more aggravation than it satisfied whatever thirst he had for competition. And now he's finding that with NASCAR. And he takes it seriously. I mean, he had a big lawsuit about what he felt like were unfair practices in NASCAR. So this is not like a little hobby for him. Like he really takes this thing. So he really loves it. I love this comment in the chat here. We talk about the greatest Clippers of all time. Bob Cuss was saying Doc Rivers is the greatest Clipper of all time. Not sure about that one. Not sure about that.
I don't think the Rivers family would endorse that comment. I don't think Doc Rivers would agree that he's the greatest Clipper of all time. I mean, you talk about the biggest flown series lead in quite some time. They're up 3-1 against the young Nuggets team, and you don't get the job done there. And then they get rid of Doc Rivers, and with Ty Lue in like year 1, they make the conference finals for the first time in franchise history. Yeah, no one's going to be saying Doc Rivers is the greatest Clipper of all time. Now that guy's a magician. You want to talk about somebody that has underachieved pretty much everywhere he's gone. And I love Doc Rivers as a person. I mean, he walks in a room and he owns it the second he walks in. But You talk about a guy that's been fortunate to kind of coach the players that he's gotten to coach. If they don't make that trade in 2007, acquiring Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett, Doc Rivers doesn't sniff the Hall of Fame. And granted, you got to give him credit, but also he's underachieved everywhere he's coached as well. And I love Doc Rivers, but I just got to call a spade a spade.
And the funny thing about Doc, man, is I know you used to watch and listen to Maddie and Perloff show. One of the biggest things that I regret having to do this YouTube show when we talked about Doc Rivers or wanted to bring up Doc Rivers is I've not been able to play the Spin Doctors. The song we played anytime because he's the spin doctor, right? He every time he comes up with an excuse, he has some way to spin why something wasn't his fault. And now I shout out to Mark Spears from ESPN, who actually know a little bit, is a great dude. But he said that he talked to Doc Rivers, and Doc Rivers is saying that he believes he should be a Hall of Famer, and he thinks that he should be in. He's waiting for that opportunity. And I wanted to play that Spin Doctors music, but I'm not trying to get that copyright strike from the band that played that music. I gotta just keep it real. I accidentally attached music to a short YouTube video I did. And they took it down. They're like, copyright. I'm like, whoa, I don't have anything here. But TikTok had attached music that I didn't realize when I saved it over and brought it into my YouTube account. And they were like, oh, you can't put this. I'm like, I'm not trying to get any smoke with the Spinners or whatever that band was called that had the Spin Doctor music. But yeah, I did see Doc say that he thinks he should be a Hall of Famer. He's going to get in because of the amount of wins he's had. He's coached forever. But yeah, I think you look at, I've never seen a guy fail up as much as he has. Like, you think, oh, you don't get it done in this spot. Like, the Celtics, okay, you should be able to get whatever job you want. You won a title. But you kind of failed the Clippers, and somehow you land Joel Embiid in the middle of the process as an opportunity to a team that's competing for a championship. Then you fail at that, and then somehow you land with the Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, it just seems like this shouldn't have gone the way it went for him, where he kept getting all these good jobs. And I'm sure when the Bucks thing ends, he's gonna try to spin this as somehow this wasn't his fault either. Even though he took over.
Yeah, he's gonna say Dame went down in the postseason.
Yeah,
right, he's gonna say Dame. Yeah, Adrian Griffin had them as like the second best team in basketball.
Yeah,
the second best team in basketball, and they had a losing record after that season. That's that. I mean, what's the commonality? It's the change in the head coach. And look, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo. You got a top 3 player in the world. You got to get out of the first round, even if Damian Lillard's not healthy. So at some point, guys like Ty Lue takes over and they get to the conference finals without Kawhi Leonard. Remember that he got hurt that postseason. They still get to the conference finals. And, they had that remember that Paul George incredible game 5 that he had? That I think that's the greatest game of his career. They bring it back to 6, and who knows what happened if they would have had Kawhi in that. By the way, Kawhi Leonard, there's been so many, so many unfortunate negative stories about him, with what's happened in private companies and different ownership that has nothing to do with his Clipper affiliation. But he's playing the best basketball of his career in year 15. There's no question in my mind about that. And Kawhi Leonard is incredible right now. He may be the best player in the world these last, 40, 50 days? Speaking of 40 days, 40 nights, he might be the best player in the world right now.
You know what I thought watching last night? I was watching this game. A lot of thoughts came to mind. The other one I thought was, man, it's too bad he really loves that San Diego mansion he lives in, because he really could have been a huge piece for somebody making a push to try to win a championship. Like, if you're Detroit, hell, if you're Cleveland, if you say, hey, forget about James Harden, can we get Kawhi Leonard in here? Like, there are these teams that I think I look at where they would have the assets, and I said, man, if they could have taken the flyer on Kawhi for this year, he definitely would have been a game changer for somebody looking to win a championship, because he is playing that well. Now, is it reliable that he'll make it through a playoffs? It's not. Just be clear, it's not. But to me, I do think that if you're a team that's like, you know what, like, who knows when we'll get another opportunity to be this close, why not go after it? Again, Cleveland was a team that came to mind. Detroit's a team that came to mind. I'm sure there are teams in the West. He don't care that they got rid of Zubac. He don't care that they got rid of James Harden. He wants to play for the Clippers, and he wants to live in that San Diego mansion. He ain't going nowhere.
I don't get that. Like, I know there were rumblings that they weren't willing to offer James Harden an extension after, in his next contract and whatnot. But Ivica Zubac right now is a top 10 center in the NBA. Easily. top 10 center in the NBA. He might be one of the top 5 back to the basket players we have. James Harden was an all-star last year. All-star. James Harden is having a better season this year. They start 6-21, and then they go. I think they went like 20. I want to say 18-4. Like they were the best team in basketball over the last month and a half.
They won 17 out of 20. I believe was one stretch.
Yeah. And they're the best team in basketball over the last month and a half. They're clicking on all cylinders. It's unfortunate that Bradley Beal went down for the season. Chris Paul went down for the season for very different reasons. But John Collins has been a welcomed addition to that team. Derrick Jones Jr. is finding his place. You talk about an individual in Chris Dunn, what he's able to do out there on both sides of the floor. This is a really good team, and they have one of the best coaches in the NBA. So why make this move? And if you do make the move, where clearly you're pivoting and in rebuild mode, why aren't you giving up your biggest asset? It doesn't matter what Kawhi wants. He doesn't have a no trade clause. You got to do what's best for the organization. At that point, if you're getting rid of your 2 of your 3 best players in Harden and Zubats, when you are a playoff caliber team, why aren't you getting rid of the big fish? That didn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, when they traded Harden, I got it because my thing was like he's older. I think signing him to the extension is probably not the greatest idea. So I know you're taking a flyer on not a flyer, but there's a little risk with the injury history with Garland, but he's still young. He's in the prime of his career. Yeah. And I understood that. Even if maybe I wouldn't have done it at that point in time, I understood it. Say, hey, listen, we're not going to win championships this year, so even if we're playing great, let's not kid ourselves.
And by the way, you got to take that personally. You got to take that personally if you're Darius Garland, that you got traded for someone that's more than a decade older than you. You got to take that personally. And you also have to remember that Steph Curry had a lot of injuries early on in his career with the ankles, and look what he was able to turn that into. So, hope is not lost for Darius Garland. And if I'm Darius Garland and I was the second best player on that Cleveland team forever, no disrespect to Evan Mobley, I'm taking this trade personally, and I'm making sure that I pick up the phone.
I think Darius Garland's really good. Like I know,
I do too.
Like, it's a guard game where there's so many good guards, where maybe he feels maybe not as special in this NBA today. But I mean, he's a 3-level scorer. He's an excellent shooter, and he's a maestro in the pick and roll game. And I think in many ways he showed, which is why I think he's also a good fit with Kawhi Leonard, is he's adept at playing off the ball. He can be a spot up shooter, and he'll be fine in those situations. So I looked at this for him, and I was like, this is a good opportunity, man. You get to go back to playing like the undisputed point guard spot. Now you're not sharing like point guard roles with someone like Donovan Mitchell, and now you go into a situation where you're playing with the champion. You'll learn from Kawhi's habits and what he does, and being a pro. And I think you get to play in LA and free, kind of a situation where they're kind of rebuild, where they're gonna let you play your game. Like, I think it's a good spot for him. I think that I thought it was a good trade for the Clippers. I really did. I was like, you know what, the Harden thing, he's probably gonna fail in the postseason, and this is probably not going anywhere. And if you don't give him an extension, you know he's gonna start. Yeah, right. And if you don't give him an extension, you know what's gonna happen. Yeah. Anytime this guy doesn't get his money or doesn't make an All-Star game or someone looks at him the wrong way, he's going to blow up your team. So don't even get to that point where he even get that bad. Just get rid of him now. And
EJ,
that was the one.
Harden,
but to be honest, though, if you can get they might be able to get a top 10 pick from this trade. We got to see where the Pacers land in this lottery. That part of it, I was like, all right, if you get even if you get the 6th pick in this draft or the 7th pick in this draft, that's a big time pick because this draft is loaded. So that was the part with the Zubac where it's a little bit of a risk. My thing is, like, you better hope that the Pacers land outside of that top 4 or 5, whatever is protected, and you get that pick. But if you do, you could land a star.
And 10 years ago at this time, Steph Curry was not in the same league as Russell Westbrook and James Harden. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, but to me, Russell Westbrook.
10 years, a little longer. 10 years ago, he was winning championships. So you're more like 15.
Excuse me. Sorry. 13 years ago.
Yeah, 13
when Russell
years,
Westbrook
that's good.
and James Harden, because they're all the same age. James Harden's actually a year younger than both those guys, and Russell Westbrook is like a few months younger than Steph. And it's funny because when we think about this era, we think about the LeBron, KD, Steph era, right? Where if I look at this generation, Kawhi should have been a part of this equation. James Harden should have been a part of this equation. When you think of the 90s, there's MJ, and then there's not like 2 other guys. You know what I mean? There's Akeem, there's Ewing, there's the Admiral, there's Reggie, there's Sir Charles, there's Malone, there's Stockton. But with this era, you think of three guys, and I feel like that's unfortunate because James Harden was just as good as Steph Curry. He was just as good. He just never had the right intangibles. Russell Westbrook, he was just as good as Steph Curry. He just never got better. Steph continues to get better. LeBron continues to get better. Now, KD's troll game on Twitter doesn't get better, but his game gets better. Those guys constantly improved. Russell Westbrook, what he's able to do on a night in, night out basis at damn near 38 years old in year 18. I know Sacramento can't win if their life depended on it, but EJ, he's still putting up 20 points per game in his losing streak, 8 assists per game and 7 boards in a year 18. If I'm Russell Westbrook and I'm James Harden, yes, these are no doubt about it, shoe-in first ballot Hall of Famers, but they should have had their grip on this era, and they should have been competing in NBA Finals the way that Steph was, KD was, LeBron was, and it's the way that Kawhi was. And I think that's a huge miss on James Harden's part because this is one of the all-time greatest skill players this sport has ever seen, EJ. He's in year 17. He's still putting up 25 points per game, getting out of bed in the morning.
I know, but there's something missing with that guy. And I think I always felt like Morey was the best and worst thing that ever happened to him. Morey kind of like
Coddleton. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he kind of like he saw what Harden could be. So he deserves a ton of credit for that. Like he was like, we could let this guy play one-on-one basketball and he will still destroy most teams. Like this is our best opportunity to win and execute offensively, let him play one-on-one basketball and just put shooters around him. And like most teams would have probably said, no, you can't play that way and win. Well, they didn't win. They didn't win a title, but they won a lot. But at the same time, when it came to the other aspects of James's game and how he takes care of his body and how he prepares and all those other different things that matter when it comes to winning that you can't put on a spreadsheet. There's no analytics sheet to point to some of these different things. Those things Morey, I think, didn't think mattered because he looked at the analytics of it and said that this player, based on what he's able to do one-on-one playing basketball, he's going to be enough when he would have needed a Pat Riley, someone of that kind of ilk to be like, you're doing this well, but here are the things you need to improve as a leader. Here are the things you need to improve as an overall basketball player in order to get this team over the top. And Morey never did that for him, and because he coddled him, like you said, I think he became the guy that wherever he was going to go, he's going to be that same guy. He wasn't going to adjust. He won MVPs, or one MVP, and maybe should have won two, arguably, but he definitely won one MVP playing that way. He won 60-something games playing that way. Like
should have won 4. He was a runner-up like three other times.
I mean, me and Pearl go back and forth because he hates James Harden, and I'm not a James Harden guy again. But
Pearl's a Philly guy. If you're a Philly guy, right, Houston guy, but now currently Clipper guy, unless you're
maybe Arizona State Sun Devil fans, they probably still love him.
At least he didn't transfer. At least he played there 2 years, and then was drafted 3 overall.
There was no transfer portal back then. There was a transfer portal. He definitely would have been out of there after 1 year.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Last thing for you, Shep, man. Thanks so much for joining me. Very generous for your time, so I really appreciate it.
Of course, man.
This is what I like to do. There are folks who, when you do predictions, they say, "Oh, you guys stick to whatever you said before the season." My thing is like that's nonsense. We don't know guys get hurt, things change. Like that's not important. Now you can always stick with your pick for the preseason. I'm seeing things that make me think I want to go with this, but I don't care about your preseason pick. I want to know you've seen now 44, 45, 46 games of NBA basketball for all these teams that have played, and now we're heading into the home stretch of this season. Who's coming out of the East? Who's coming out of the West? And who's winning the championship?
The Knicks can't go back and get Tom Thibodeau, right?
No, he's stuck doing whatever he's doing. I think he's doing his tour where he tours all these NBA teams, learn stuff.
Because Mike Brown is going to be their Achilles heel, EJ.
You really think so?
Yep, 100%. He's a regular season coach. He's Mike Brown is the modern day version of Mike D'Antoni. They're going to do really well in the regular season. It's going to be hunky dory. They get to the postseason. They get involved in these close games, and he just gets outcoached. So the Knicks should win. The Knicks should win the East. They should, top to bottom. You are so familiar with what they are as a starting unit. How great those first 5 are. They have a deep bench. I think Jose Alvarado is going to be a huge asset for them, getting him at the trade deadline. It should be the Knicks, but it's not going to be. If I had to say the East, who is likely, it's not going to be the Cavs because James Harden's going to find a way to mess that up.
Okay.
Come back to me in a month from now or 2 months from
Come
now.
back in a month.
But because I want to see how Jason Tatum looks because I think he's playing. Everything is pointing in that direction. Everything you're hearing, the 5-on-5 scrimmage that he did, the NBC was smart. They made sure to make that a part of their All-Star game coverage. I don't know if you saw that segment. They were smart.
It made me sick, but I understood it. I'm like, this guy's getting a return package like he's a returning WWE.
Yeah, and EJ Tatum's not. He's not an alpha. He's not an alpha. So he's not coming back as Michael or Kobe or even LeBron. He's going to fit in. He's not looking to go out there and have it be his team. He doesn't care about that. So you see the emergence of Peyton Pritchard. Obviously, Jaylen Brown's playing at an MVP caliber level. You talk about what they've been able to do with some other guys that they have in key pieces that are younger now. It's tough to bet against the Celtics, man. But I have to see, is Jason Tatum going to adjust from this Achilles the way that Dominique and KD did? Because if he does, the Celtics are going to come out of the East, and in the West, until I'm proven wrong, you just have to go. You have to go with OKC, but don't be surprised if it's Denver or the Spurs. But if I had to have two picks, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would say OKC and Boston, the last two NBA champions.
And you got who's coming in that matchup? At that time, Tatum should be back at that point. But that matchup, who's you got? OKC.
I have Boston.
Boston winning it all. Wow.
I have Boston. Yeah, I'm not a big Mark Dagnall guy.
Okay.
I think Joe Mazzulla is EJ. What this cat is able to do. I mean, he took over a messy situation.
He got outcoached by Tibbs. I thought Tibbs ate his lunch last year.
Well, I mean, listen. Jason Tatum gets hurt in Game 4. That's a different. No. Yes, to your point, they took their lunch money in the first two games of that series and completely wiped the floor with them in Boston. No question. Yep. No question about that. And I'm glad you brought up Tibbs because EJ, if James Dolan is smart and actually I shouldn't say this because I want to get a credential at MSG, so let me stop myself. If certain Knicks brass
you work for the NBA shop, and it still might be tough. I'm being honest. I mean, just the way it is to get in the Garden, it's always
you just got to you just got to be a sick. You just got to be a sickle fan. You got to be in his club. You got to shower him with praise. You got to take the Craig Carton approach. Okay, you take the Craig Carton approach. He's not only going to allow you to come to MSG.
I got to be political. I took the shot at Adam Silver. As someone who works at Fan, I love Craig Carton. I have no beef with Craig Carton. So
no. That's not a shot. That's not a shot. It's smart. It's smart what Craig is doing. You want access to one of the most mysterious owners we have in all professional sports, and you want that inside access. I'd be kind to him too. I think it's a brilliant move as a host. That's not a knock on Craig. That's a great.
Remember, they got a relationship. Because remember, when Craig, I think, was in jail, I think that Dolan reached out to him, and that's where that relationship started. So they got a
speaking of Craig, why didn't Craig Carton jump? Why are you jumping? Keith's jumping.
Oh, I didn't jump. Did you watch my video? I didn't jump. I faked everybody out.
No, you did a fake out, but you considered it. You considered it. You might have pulled up. You might have pulled up then.
There was no consideration. What Shep's talking about is there's been the WFAN Olympics that has been launched by Craig Carton, where he's doing different activities to show the athleticism or lack thereof of WFAN people. And we had C-Mac, Chris McMonagle, his co-host, and Pete Hoffman trying to jump over a office chair. But they're not actually even jumping over the chair. It's just the side of the chair. The side of the chair, arms of the chair. Almost like when you're jumping over a car, you're not jumping over like the full car, you're jumping over like the hood horizontally. And it looked like, I don't think Hoff, it looked like McMonagle, there's a cut where McMonagle falls and they cut the clip. I want to see that full clip. It feels like the LeBron James getting dunked on by Jordan Crawford. Right. And we couldn't find that video for years, it felt like. I want to see the cut where C-Mac busts his ass when he falls on the ground. But those guys were able to jump to Keith McPherson. Next day says, well, I'm a former athlete, former football player. I'm going to jump over the entire chair So he jumps over the entire chair, not just the arms. So then I was all right, well, I'm there now. Let's see what we got. And of course, me returning from a torn patella tendon was not going to risk another injury in an embarrassing fashion. So yeah, I did a
See,
fake out.
you have an excuse though. That's
I do have an
different.
excuse.
You have a legit excuse. Yeah.
Yeah,
Craig still
and like,
looks like an athlete to me, man.
and the thing is, I can do jumping, but I was not gonna risk it for that. That was crazy. So I thought that was funny. I did a little fake out for everybody. But no, Shep, man, hey, this has been a lot of fun. You were again someone people wanted to see. A lot of people in our chat are very familiar with you and familiar with your work, and they're very happy to see everything you're doing with Sirius XM Radio. Keep doing your thing and keep killing it over there, man. It's great having you.
EJ, pleasure to have you, man. You know, you're a good friend of mine. You're one of the best people in this business, and you keep doing what you're doing. And I cannot wait to see what you do next. And just shout out to all our CBS Sports Radio, Infinity Sports Network fans. We miss you like crazy, and hope everyone's doing well. And have a great rest of your 2026, everybody.
That's David Shepard, man. David Shepard, thank you so much, dude. Take it easy, man. Oh man,
Likewise.
That was fun. Shout out to Shep. Shep killing it in the chat. Killing it in the live stream. Just awesome stuff. Happy to have Shep here, man. Like I said before, I said this when I told you guys Shep was gonna come on the show. Like, there were a handful of people. Everyone at Fan and Infinity were great, and they are still great. The people I still work with, but I'm the new guy. Kind of came in out of nowhere at a place that is very hard to get into in terms of bringing on new people, just because of the nature of the business. So kind of keep to myself. People were nice, but they're not like necessarily ushering me. There was no red carpet for me, right? But I really felt like Shep was really a dope dude because of all the folks who really kind of made me feel very welcome and kind of very validated my presence there as someone who belonged. Shep was one of those first people. I shout out Shep. I always shout out my guy Anthony Gallo, who we're going to try to get something locked in with him. He's, of course, WFAN host as well, and digital guy as well. I always mention Ed Arzuman, Big Zoo. I know who just left WFAN, but he's a great dude as well. And everybody was phenomenal, but I feel like and then Keith McPherson, those four initially really felt like they really be like, hey, you're cool. They want to know who I was about, what I was about, knowing my history, knowing my background. And becoming good friends, and then also realizing for Shep, that I was a talent, right? And I was someone that could hold their own on the mic, and him doing shows and me being a part of those shows, not just behind the scenes but on air with him. So he was someone I wanted to make sure I got on the show, man. I really appreciate him, and he did great stuff. It's great to have him here, man. That's David Shepard. You can catch him doing post game for Sirius XM NBA Radio. So if you got Sirius XM, go to NBA Radio. He does post-game shows throughout the week, so he's very happy because it's tough because he does these late-night shows, so getting him in the morning was going to be tricky. I think because it was a Monday, this is one he was able to do, so I was really excited about that because finding times, I can't get him at night because obviously he's getting ready to do his show. In the mornings, he would have been up late at night coming in, so doing an 8 a.m. show is not going to be all that easy for him. So I appreciate Shep, man. He's a great dude, and it was great to have him on. Again, let me know, like I said before, you guys asked for him. To be clear, I'd already been talking to him about it. So, like I said, it was not a thing where it's like I was holding out on Shep. It was him trying to make sure he can get onto the show and find the time to do it, and he did. You guys know the folks that I know. Get in the chat. Let me know who else you want to see on 40 Days and 40 Nights. We're winding down, man. We're on week 6. We're coming down to the wire. This is day 26 here, and there's only 3 more weeks left. This is like the John Cena retirement tour, where John Cena kept saying, I have these, 28 dates, whatever he says. These are the dates that you have for me to try to bring in all of my friends and the people that I respect so much in this industry. And I would love to know who the guys you people want to see. I see John Lean. I'm really happy that we got Shep on the show. Yep, shout out to John Lean. Shep is he's the man. He's a good guy. I saw some people. I'm gonna see if I can get some of these other things in the chat that are funny. So some of you guys talking about his beard, which I thought was quite interesting. Let me see if I can get those. Yeah, I don't know where I can find it, but that was earlier in the chat where you were like, "Oh, what's with Shep with the beard? Hey, he's growing out the beard." Scruffy Shep, yep. Aaron L16, yep. He's growing out the beard. Daily saying that it's his unhoused hipster look. That is definitely a fact. The one thing I gotta get on Shep, man. Shep, I love you, bro. You gotta get a headshot. like a real headshot. Like I'm making my graphic to try to promote the fact that you're going to be on the show this morning. I posted it on social media last night. I'm looking all through Google for like a Shep poster, picture, and every picture is like you, like it looks like either you're like at like a dinner, like at like on like a dinner date type kind of picture, like you're sitting at, or it's like you behind the mic, like or doing your work, which is great. Those are nice photos, not photos I can really use for a graphic. Like I found one that kind of worked a little bit. But it kind of made your head look bigger than I probably would have liked. But I didn't want to not have a graphic because I've made a graphic for the last 3 or 4 guests I've had. So that's the only thing Shep's got to do, man. He's got to get himself a new headshot. He didn't have a headshot that had any pictures of any pictures of him with a beard. So it's gonna be a clean shaven because Shep typically is clean shaved, and now he's rocking the beard look, which I love. I mean, it's why I'm Action EJ. Nobody asked me, not enough people, they used to, they don't do it anymore. Why people ask me, why am I Action EJ on Instagram? It's because of, if you guys ever watched Dexter's Laboratory, and it's like it might be like the second or third episode of Dexter's Lab. This was a cartoon in the 90s. It was a young scientific genius who for some reason had like a German accent. I don't know why, because his sister didn't. But he was the smartest kid / person on the planet, and he would get into hijinks from the different experiments he would have in his laboratory. And he had his sister Dee Dee, who would drive him insane and would typically screw things up, and that was his whole deal. And I think in like the second or third episode, like Dexter, who was a kid, he must have been legitimately been like 11 years old, if even that. His favorite show as a kid was this action show called Action Hank. And it was this guy, his name was Action Hank, and the big thing about him was that he had this beard. It was like this like knockoff Mr. T type character that was Dexter's favorite like action hero. And there's an episode where like, Action Hank sells like, rugged facial hair transplants. Like, get this, and like all the ladies will be all over you. And like Dexter ends up buying it, and he puts it on his face, and then all of a sudden he has this red beard as like a 10-year-old kid. And he's going around, the girls all love him because he's got this beard. It's one of my favorite episodes of Dexter's Lab. And I was rocking it when I made my Instagram handle. I was like, at that point I had decided I was going to be a bearded man. Like, I was like, this is going to be part of my look. I just look better with a beard than without a beard. So I was like, what's Instagram handle? Because my AOL handle sucked, and I was not going to do that. I was like, I got to find something new. I didn't want to just do my name. I was like, I want something fun, unique. And I was like, how about Action EJ? I'm not Action Hank, but I'm Action EJ. And it makes sense because my dad is also named Henry, too. And so he actually is Hank. And so is my brother, Henry Jr. So I thought there were a lot of, like, allusions to that character that actually made sense for me. So that's why I ended up making my handle Action Hank. We have my guy, Rob Ray, in the chat being like, you making your IG handle based on the episode of Dexter's Laboratory makes absolute perfect sense. What can I say, man? Like the great XV line, why kid myself like I ain't a kid myself? I'm 34 years old, but I'm still a kid at heart. These are things that still matter to me. It's why I love superheroes, why I love comic books, it's why I love cartoons. But yes, that is why my Instagram and my TikTok are both Action EJ. For my Dexter's Lab episode, Action Hank. Let me see if I actually, the great thing about doing this is if things work the way they're supposed to, I might be able to even show you a picture of Action Hank. Let me see if I can find Action Hank Dexter's Lab so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Because this was, yep, there he is. Let me see if I can show you guys. This is the Dexter's Laboratory Wikipedia page. Because of course everything has a Wikipedia. I'm an adult. It has to be fandom. What are you, adult, kid? I'm like, I'm an adult. Let me see this thing. Okay, so let me show you guys. This is the character, Action Hank. Let's see. Will this work? I don't know if this is working or not. Right now I see a black screen. Let me see if I get rid of this. Maybe this will help. Chat. Sorry, chat. Oh, that's my screen. I don't want my screen. I want to show my Google Chrome. That, by the way, is my Chrome crashed. That's why it didn't work. Yeah, a lot going on here. So I'm not able to show you guys. But search Action Hank. You'll be able to see. That's the influence behind why I do what I do. But man, this was fun. I had the Travis Hunter stuff. I had the Francisco Lindor stuff. I think I'm gonna hold that for later. That's the beauty of doing 2 shows is that you get to say, you know what, we had a great time. I could have cut Shep short. I didn't want to do that. You still got this Kevin Durant thing to talk about as well. Actually, I'll do the Kevin Durant thing real quick. Kevin Durant, fans are speculating whether or not he's behind a burner account on the NBA on Twitter where he's trashing NBA players. And I actually kind of want to save this one because I do want to show you guys, and now my Chrome just crashed. I can't even show you guys some of the tweets. So I'm going to save it, but we'll get to more. And actually, we're really excited to talk to Dexter Henry about it. Dexter Henry's going to join me later tonight. The time is not escaping me. I think it's around 7, maybe 7:15. It's like sometime around the second hour. But no, I'm really excited to talk about this Kevin Durant thing too, because I'll preview it just real quick, and we'll talk more about it later. But Kevin Durant is obviously very active on social media, and he likes to get into the comment section with other different tweets and go after fans. And to his credit, I don't want to make it sound like every time it's always negative. Like sometimes he'll just like go back and forth with fans in a way that's not like combative in any way. But he also does like to go after people who are trolls or people who don't like or people who don't like him, and he'll go back and forth, and he likes this. This is a big part of his now internet persona. What you may have forgotten was this was probably around the time he left for Golden State. So this is probably what, 2018, 2017. He leaves for Golden State, and at that time he was like an internet pariah because of like this decision he made to go to the Warriors, and he was starting to become the social media troll that he is now. But this was like the beginnings of it. But he still didn't tweet quite as much. But then what we saw was there were posts from Kevin Durant's actual Twitter account that seemed to be taking shots at like Russell Westbrook and guys on his team as to why he couldn't win with the Thunder. And we were like, did someone hack Kevin Durant's Twitter? Why is he talking as if he's in third person? Also, why is he dissing Russell Westbrook and all these guys that he's on his team? And it was revealed that it was his account and that he screwed up in thinking that he was tweeting from his burner, which is like an anonymous account where he can tweet as if he's a third person, but he's actually Kevin Durant. And he was tweeting from his actual account. So he had to delete the tweets, he had to come out and like apologize and do all this other stuff. It was this whole ordeal. And it kind of led to a lot of this, like, what was that time, like, a lot of, like, oh, Kevin Durant's a dweeb. Like, this guy's a burner account, and he's going after Russell Westbrook and stuff to try to make himself look good from an anonymous account. How lame is that, right? I don't know how things, well, I know how things change, because we have extremely short attention spans as society. We just, as people, we forget about things and we just move on. Again, people get gaslight you and tell you the All-Star game's never been competitive just because it happened years ago. And people will just say, oh yeah, he's right about that when it's not right. It's very easy to gaslight people because we don't have attention spans to care about the truth. So, for whatever reason, he got over that. Like, he did win 2 championships, so that helps, right? You win championships, and even if you were on a stacked super team, you were the best player in those finals to help your team win a title. So, even if some people won't take it, a lot of people say, no, he won his titles, he was great in the finals, like, we kind of move on, right? And then he's kind of rebranded himself now, tweeting from his own account. Not talking down on NBA players, but he'll go after fans, he'll attack fans, he'll be personal, he'll do all those different kind of things. And people are like, Kevin Durant's the greatest on social media. Oh, I love how savage Kevin Durant is. I'm like, I don't know, bro had a burner account to like talk about other guys and try to make himself look good. Like, okay, sure, now he's being more active in his actual account, speaking from himself. He ain't talking salty anymore about other teams and other players, but he's still going after fans at least, and he will like attack like old players or he loves this generational argument. Well, guys in the past versus guys now. He loves living in that world. So, okay, he's doing it now, and he's going after guys who have 20 followers now, being like, what do, you Uber driver or whatever. And people love this. It's never going to be that cool to me. I'm just like, okay, first of all, you were already exposed as a guy with a burner to make yourself try to look good. You already look kind of lame to me from that standpoint. And now, okay, you flame guys that have 50 followers and who are also anonymous burner accounts. I guess I like the fact that an athlete is trying to be authentic and showing how they feel about people who talk bad about them, and it actually does bother Kevin Durant. It seems like. So that at that point, there's that kind of authenticity. I think is kind of interesting. But some people say, "Oh, he's a Twitter god. He's the greatest thing to happen to social media." I'm like, a guy with a burner. I don't know. He's not my Twitter god. I can say that much. But we thought the burner stuff was behind him. I know he did admit that he had a burner like a couple of years ago, but like we thought, okay, him like actually being in burner accounts to talk about like the NBA, talk about his teammates. We didn't think that was possible. But it turns out there are a lot of people who have now leaked a group chat. I assume this was like a group like social media, like Twitter chat account, like a Twitter chat group with a person in there that certainly appears to be Kevin Durant. Now, this person could be pretending to be Kevin Durant. It's an anonymous account. And if I was Kevin Durant, I would come out today and be like, that is not me. Because what he is caught saying in this group chat is nothing super problematic. If you listen, a lot of people have a lot of strong opinions. I certainly have them as well about what's going on with Israel and Gaza. There's some comments about that. But putting that aside, there's not so much like, oh, things that will get him like canceled or anything like that. But you want to talk about trashing your current teammates, whether it be Alperen Şengün, trashing Jabari Smith. He did use kind of a inappropriate slur used for people who deal with kind of like developmental challenges to talk about Jabari Smith. That might be one thing. Maybe he definitely, if he did say this, he's gonna have to clean up. But he's just talking crazy about his current team, about the Suns, about Devin Booker, about everyone kissing Steph Curry's behind, and Steve Kerr doesn't like black people. I mean, just very inflammatory comments. They could be how he feels, and obviously outside Jabari Smith, that comment, which was very foul. They could be even true. I don't know any of these things. I'm not in these locker rooms. But things you would never want to say out in public, right? Never things you want to get out there, considering you have relationships trying to keep intact. Which leads me to hope that this actually isn't Kevin Durant, because I cannot imagine, what kind of loser would get caught with a burner account talking trash about your teammates and guys in the NBA previously that would then go and do the same behavior again, number one. And number two, the relationships that he's going to have to try to mend, especially on the actual Houston Rockets, because of the stuff he was saying to these randos on the internet, that's not going to be a fun time for Kevin Durant or anybody involved with the Houston Rockets. And at the end of the day, that's a team that I know Shep didn't mention is one of the teams that can win a title, because I think we all think that they're a point guard behind. But in reality, they are a team that has pseudo-championship aspirations. And here you got a guy who's 37 years old, who's supposed to be the veteran leader of the team, the OG of the team. And he thought it was allegedly smart to talk to a bunch of anonymous randos in a group chat on social media about his feelings about his actual teammates and his team, and not in a positive way, and I don't say only, but in the one chat, in the stuff we saw, in an inflammatory way, the way he did, he thought that was a smart idea. That's not good news. And he's going to have to clean that up if that is the case. The stuff on social media was crazy, because seeing all these clips of him, he's on the court on his phone. He's leaving the locker room to go out into the court still holding his phone. I know it's the All-Star game, so there's a lot of lax rules with like texting and things like that. Some guys bring their phone out to record stuff, whatever. But this was not that. This looked like somebody that was very much invested with like having to handle something that was urgent, because otherwise I don't know why you'd be on the court in warm-up with your phone in your hand, which was what happened during the All-Star game last night for Kevin Durant. I don't know, man. It's like you see that kind of stuff, and I said it on social media, I'll say it here. Whether it's Kevin Durant's account or not Kevin Durant's account, this is not even a Kevin Durant commentary. I still believe if you're a person with a burner account, especially a public figure, and you use that account to push narratives and to hand out negative commentary, you're a loser. You're a loser. I don't know what else is. I'm sorry. And like, I'm not someone who really judges folks for many things. I'm pretty open to like however you want to live your life. You live your life, just don't impact anyone else or don't like hurt anybody else. Right? I have views of how I view my life, what my values are, but I don't think it's my place to infringe that on other people. But if you have a burner account to simply talk trash about other people and to push negative narratives about people, I didn't mention the stuff you talked about with Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Kyrie Irving. I mean, everybody got it. Again, to quote Adrian Burner, Africans, Americans, Mexicans, Europeans, everybody can get it when it came to Kevin Durant in terms of who he was flaming. You're doing that behind a burner account, you're a loser. I'm sorry, you're a loser. That is incel behavior. That is what incel. That is the lifestyle of an incel. That's what they do. They don't touch grass. They don't have any real friends. So they find some kind of community in the internet and they take up a cause. It could be standing a rapper or standing a political stance or standing whatever, and they just go on and they just type, and that's it. That's what they do their entire lives. And they don't do it showing their face. They wouldn't dare show their face because they wouldn't want anybody to know that this is them with this incessant tweeting and this incessant nonsense. The fact that somebody could be one of the 25 to 30 greatest players in the history of the NBA to do this, to play basketball, and that this is how he spends his downtime, is speaking to, Shep mentioned sycophants. You're in a group chat with KD fan 7543 and Easy Sniper is the best in the world 8522, talking about how Steph Curry is this and that and Nikola Jokic is this and that. I'm like, really? You can't do anything better with your time than this. And this is the same guy that what bothers me is he's one of the biggest folks that will talk about the media being the problem and anonymous sources, all these anonymous sources that are saying things and all blah, blah, blah. Well, he can never talk about anonymous sources ever again. If this is true, if this is his account, the last thing I ever want to hear from Kevin Durant is about, oh, these anonymous sources in the NBA are a problem. You're literally an anonymous source pushing narratives on social media about the NBA and talking to people who are fans of the NBA about different things that you dislike and guys that aren't that good and and making all these excuses about why you're not winning. You are the anonymous source, Kevin Durant, if this is true. If it's not true, then thank goodness, because that would be a big bullet dodge, obviously, for the Rockets and dodge for his teammates. But, I mean, it was lame and corny and whack when he did it 10 years ago. I thought it was terrible. I was like, I don't know. I like the fact that only the fact that this guy is A, this great, and B, we have short attention spans, that he recovered from that. Like that, he should have never recovered from that. That was insane. The audacity that he potentially could have still been doing this. Now, these weren't public tweets. That's the change, and that's why I don't know what happened. I tend to think they're true because there are some things that line up. People wishing him happy birthday on his birthday. Him pointing at certain things about where he was at when he was injured with the Suns. It matches up very well. Either someone is an actual incel lunatic who is following Kevin Durant's life and is able to tweet about Kevin Durant like he's Kevin Durant in a way that is authentic and is convincing. Or this is just some kind of misunderstanding that we don't know. I tend to think it's him just from my feel of it. Just how he tweets, how he talks, the cadence in which he posts on social media, the vibe from it. It feels like him. Because unfortunately, because this guy is obsessed with the internet, we have all these different tweets and all these different DMs from his actual account. There was a guy who also posted during this whole crazy thing about, this Kevin Durant burner account situation. There was another guy who I guess is a Kendrick Lamar, also like anonymous account, I assume, I don't know. But this other guy posted like, while we're talking about Kevin Durant's social media behavior, here are all these DMs I got from Kevin Durant harassing me about my love for Kendrick Lamar, and he's like, hey Fats, hey Goof, hey blah blah blah. Is Kendrick Lamar still your daddy? Did you hear from your daddy today? Like all of these non-responded to DMs from Kevin Durant at like 3 a.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning. These are him. This is not a burner account. This is not, KD's the best 77 or whatever. This is actual him. This is something he's doing in his actual account. Going into randos DMs to stand up for Drake. I'm going to start calling him OVO Kev. If this is all, if he's no longer Kevin Durant. He's no longer easy money sniper. He's no longer the Durantula or whatever other name you want to call him, Iceberg Slim. He is not OVO Kev. Because if you, as a multi-millionaire, with all the investments you have, the game you got, and the life that you could be living, if you are spending hours of your time out of a day to DM randos on the internet about their love for Kendrick Lamar and your love for Drake, you're no longer Kevin Durant, you're OVO Kev. You might as well go write some rhymes that Drake can copy and then do in his next album and hope that it's good and maybe people will actually care about Drake's music again. Because that's pathetic. That to me was almost worse than any of the other stuff in the burner account. Like, what the hell are you doing DMing people about Kendrick Lamar? I'll tell you what. First of all, this behavior, if it is true, it makes sense why he's friends with Drake. Because it's kind of the weirdo stuff that Drake does. The random DMs of just like talking crap to people, insulting people. Like this is stuff that Drake is known for. And they hang out a ton. We've seen that already. But I see this stuff. I see these maneuverings of Kevin Durant. I see him in a random DM war with some random Kendrick Lamar fan account. And that's why Savannah wanted LeBron to have nothing to do with this guy. I mean Drake. People wonder what happened with the Drake LeBron relationship and why did that fall out and what went wrong, and the speculation that Savannah James didn't like the influence Drake was having on LeBron. I see Kevin Durant in group chats thinking he needs to stand up for Drake with some random Kendrick Lamar stan account, and he's DMing him and harassing him and threatening him. I'm like, yeah, that's what it takes to be part of OVO gang. If I'm Savannah, I'm telling LeBron, yeah, get the hell out of there. This guy is a weirdo. Cause this is weirdo behavior, man. This is weird. I'm tired of you. I'm tired of you people who want to, glaze and deride these athletes for I don't know what reason. I don't know what the reason is. But you will just pretend like these things are just normal, and we should just act like, oh, well, everybody does it. What's the big deal? Well, I don't like. I know there's an aspect of I want to like people in the media. I want to protect relationships. I don't want to get in the wrong side of anybody. Where I understand it to some degree, but sometimes you gotta call things what it is. This is insane. This is ridiculous. Kevin Durant should be focused on trying to win a championship. Should be focused on literally anything else than getting into the DMs of a random Kendrick Lamar fan to talk about his love for Drake at 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning. Like, what are we talking about? It's weirdo stuff. And I don't know about the burner account, if it's true or not, but if it is, man, he could have all the money in the world. He could have all the championships in the world. He could have all of the accolades in the world. He's still going to look like a loser to me. I'm sorry. It's how I feel. And that's going to do it for this edition of 40 Days and 40 Nights, day 26 in the books. I want to thank you guys again for checking me out. Again, later tonight, Dexter Henry joins me live on 40 Days and 40 Nights. Again, I only got, as I say, 14 days left. So I want to make sure I make the most of it and maximize this time with as many great guests as possible. So Dexter Henry from New York Post Sports will be joining me later on in the show. That will be a ton of fun. I give a big thanks to David Shepard, who came on, and he was awesome. I mean, Shep, what I love about Shep is he loves the NBA, and there are these folks who, because of the nature of the NBA and the commentary around it, it's just become cool to just crap on the NBA. And I love that Shep. Shep don't pull no punches. Except for I talk about Ab Silver. He's not gonna let me get away with that, which I knew he wouldn't. But outside of that, he's gonna call things how it is. He's gonna criticize these guys. He has no problem at all getting after it. But he also has a real appreciation for the league and for the game, which is how I approach things. So I loved having him on. He was an obvious guest. I thought it would be great to have him on after NBA All-Star Weekend. I'll be honest, I did not expect that we would have a great All-Star game. I did not think that we'd be coming back being like, no, that All-Star game was really good. Did not think that'd be part of the conversation when I booked him. But I'm happy we were able to talk about the All-Star game, and I'm happy Shep was able to come on again. He's a good dude, great talent. And make sure you keep it locked on Sirius XM NBA Radio post game because he is the host of that. He does a phenomenal job on that show. And man, that's gonna do it. As I get my sound up, there we go. Here we go. That's the music. I want to thank you guys for checking out this edition of 40 Days and 40 Nights. Remember, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, New Generation Media. Make sure you follow me on X, EJ_Stewart, and on Instagram and TikTok, Action EJ. Shout out to Action Hank. And also, again, the podcast gets posted after every episode. So go to our podcast channel, New Generation Podcast Network, where you can get all of the episodes of 40 Days and 40 Nights, along with everything else we do on New Generation Media. Just search New Generation Podcast Network wherever you get your podcasts. That'll do it for now. I'm EJ Stewart. Thank you guys for checking me out. I'll see you guys later tonight at 6 p.m.